Good morning and thank you for joining us. This is Sunrise and I am Alero Edu.
Amaya Makinde, good morning and welcome today. Just in case you don't know, it's 27th. That's 27th day of January. Yeah, some people are already looking for... So in fact, some already say that today is like the 50th day of January.
Yeah, yes. I heard Markwa yesterday saying that some people say that January has 70 days. Well, it does appear like it's a very long month because people got paid halfway through December and they have to wait till the end of January to get the next pay.
Well, no, now, finish everything in December, you know, yes, I'm flexing.
We must shop,
shop life and everything, and thereafter, you finish everything in December. You are now waiting for January. You don't know that January is longer than December.
Oh, yeah.
The same number of days.
This is the weekend of the Australian Open for those who follow tennis.
Well, it's like you're after some people.
The guy who hasn't lost a match at the Australian Open for 6 years got knocked out yesterday. That made big news.
What's his name?
Novak Djokovic.
We just wanted to emphasize.
It made big news. He had not been beaten in 6 years. He has 10 Australian Open titles. And his ambition for this year was to win the Golden Slam, which is winning Australian Open, French Open, Wimbledon, US Open, and gold at the Olympics. Well, sorry, Djokovic fans, that dream has been dashed.
No, wait. You are reminding me of those who say, when they are talking about Arsenal, they say, we. I say, who wanna be?
I did not say we.
We play.
Them who are Djokovic's fans.
I've heard of those who are not.
Well, they'll be smiling.
Some people who are not, they say they are excited that he's not.
And today is the ladies' finals. In fact, it should be oh yes, at 9 o'clock, yes. I think the opening ceremonies, the ceremonies are taking place now, and the match proper will start at 9:30. Of course, my decoder is on record.
Can we move on now? She doesn't sleep when it's tennis time. She doesn't sleep. And she now come here and say, it's snooze time. It ain't gonna happen.
Time, yes. Nigeria is playing Cameroon tonight.
Well, yeah, so that one, there will be no snoozing. Please,
of course
you
not.
Snooze, you lose.
Well, I can't watch when Nigeria is playing, unfortunately.
No, I can't.
Because of my weak heart.
I can't either. But I watched the replay.
It's too stressful.
I told you what I did last week.
When I've got the results, then I can watch.
Even after getting the result, I was watching the highlights.
And you're still kicking the ball.
This match, and then, oh wait, okay, the match is ended. I was still having palpitations.
And kicking the ball.
I beg, please. I love the sound of victory, but please, give me the news. I mean, thankfully, I don't hear too much noise these days. Go! That one alone gives me...
From viewing centers.
Palpitation.
Or in housing estates, when Nigeria scores, the whole place just shudders.
Thank God
with their scream.
Thank God I'm not in Cote d'Ivoire right now. Because, I don't know.
Yes, what do you make of all this noise about moving certain departments of the CBN and certain agencies,
Well,
for the sake of efficiency?
That is why I was very, very excited when former CBN Governor Lamido Sanusi
Yes.
For me,
when he weighed in,
that just nailed the coffin.
He said it's an old plan.
One, and that it predates even him.
Yeah, it was Soludo.
It predates even him.
That's right.
So I don't even see any need.
And they renovated the central bank building in Lagos.
For God's sake.
With I think it was 32 billion, I heard.
Alero, there is CBN offices in
every state
of Nigeria, one. Number two, the headquarters, international, whatever you want to call it, headquarters of most of these organizations are in the states. The banking supervision department is not.
The head office of almost all the banks
are in Lagos.
Thank you.
The banking supervision is not in Lagos, and so how are they going to be supervised?
Going up and down. spending money that we don't have, flying up and down, paying hotel bills and all that.
Which is, part of what some people are saying. And I think Lamido Sanusi also spoke to that.
Yeah.
The fact that some of the people who are supposed to be getting that job done are not mentally ready for moving. Fine, take your time. But this needs to happen because Nigeria will save money. Come on. Nigeria will save money.
And right now, we're not exactly rolling in money, which is the reason why I still ask, why are all these convoys still running all over the place,
Well, you see, that, one of these days I was just thinking about that, and the thought that occurred to me is that there are some protocols you can't change because it is what it is, protocol.
Why does a man need 50 cars in his convoy?
The man doesn't need 50 cars. That's why even he himself reviewed, because he heard the people talking about it. He's reviewed the list of those who can go with him anywhere. In fact, I think I was speaking with one legislator, and he was saying even the president cannot touch his protocol because he says, look, that is the number one person in the nation and representation of the nation. And they say, look, one of the ideas being touted was, look, the president says, according to whatever it was being touted, that the president said that the security apparatus in any state he goes to would take care of him. The man said, no, that shouldn't happen because that shouldn't be his call. Because there is a protocol, there is a standing protocol for some things that should not be changed, that even the president should not be able to change that. If the president is able to change that, then the president can change anything. But that is not right. Okay, fine. I don't know. I don't understand it. For those who understand protocols and all of this, you might be able to speak to it. But
you're talking about the president. I was thinking about the governors, the various governors.
How does that?
50-car convoys.
How does that change?
50 black jeeps.
Some people, I think 50. It's a function of personal whatever. In Lagos, maybe 3 or 4 most times.
In fact, when BRF was here, you didn't even know when he was coming.
No, I mean, since the days of Obasanjo, I think, sirens and all of that was banned.
That's how come he was able to catch people driving in bus lanes, because they didn't even know that he was passing.
All governors in Lagos do now. No sirens, no noise, nothing. Unlike back in the day. So I think it's personal values and all of those things.
And Cameroon has rolled out the first malaria vaccine. And that hit me because I was now asking myself, so where is the giant of Africa?
Let me tell you why
who happens to be the one who suffers the most from malaria.
Let me tell you one of the reasons that is painful. Number one, I saw one research. I hope I get the figure right. Nigeria has been trying to be malaria-free since 1948. I am not sure, but I think that's the figure, the date that I saw. Secondly, Nigeria used to make yellow fever vaccines in the 70s. Please, do we still make yellow fever vaccines now? So it's not for lack of capacity. That's the point that I'm making. NIMA has been shouting itself hoarse. Nigeria Medical, Institute for Medical Research or whatever, the name is, they have been trying. All we need is research. They talk about phytomedicine.
Research requires funding.
Which is the issue that many of them are shouting about. NAFDAC, that woman has been like, look, we need to bridge the gap between research and herbal medicines. Who is going to fund that? Some people are afraid that Big Pharma is against that, and consequently, they are not going to allow it to happen. Come on. When are we going to get that, as you said, it will? Please, I hope it's not political will again, because I'm tired of that one. So, I think it's just back to us. And it's not that this thing isn't a big deal. US eliminated malaria. A number of other countries, even in Africa, eliminated malaria. So, what's wrong with the giants?
The giant is just trying to wake up from its slumber. Wake up, Nigeria. You are the giant of Africa.
Somebody just called it, and it was very, very sad and painful to hear. Somebody said Nigeria is a sleeping giant. I don't agree.
But it is.
See.
Because we talk about our potential all the time. What are we doing with the potential?
Most of the time when we talk about Nigeria, many of us only see Nigeria from the silo of our location. It just crossed my mind one day. These so-called ungoverned spaces, it's so easy to activate them. What do we need to do? I think it was during the Buhari government that the chief of one of the official top hierarchy of the military decided to move his office there. So just imagine, for instance, maybe that you decide that you want to move the seat of a state government to an ungoverned space for, say, just 1 year.
All the ungoverned will take off, I promise.
I'm telling you.
They will take off.
Look, it's so easy to, what we need is leadership. It will be so easy to activate those areas. So easy to activate those so-called ungoverned spaces, so-called underdeveloped spaces. And then we say we have satellite. They will be activated. Come on, it's so easy to, well, maybe I'm just talking trash.
Okay, so what's our program going to look like? Today we're going to start by looking at delivering on Nigeria's demand for security.
We demand it. And then, we talk about technology like it's something that is strange. Yeah.
Especially to us.
Yeah. What do you call yourselves again?
Boomers.
Baby boomers. So there is a gap that we need to fill this morning. We need to fill as a nation, but we need to begin to take steps towards it. How do we apply AI?
Artificial intelligence.
Yes, for good governance. Some people just hear AI. No, it's not just initials. It's artificial intelligence. How do we apply AI for good governance?
And then to a very, very worrisome aspect of our lives, Nigeria's organ harvesting crisis. It has actually reached crisis proportions, where you have minors being lured into donating their organs for pittance, if you ask me.
Define minors.
Next topic, please. Thank you.
Lifestyle today, we're talking about traumas, the types of traumas, the triggers of traumas, and the treatment of traumas.
And we shall close with the artist of the week, as usual, and he is a he, and he is a very interesting he. So I urge you to stay with us through today's program so that you can learn.
Is he a musician?
It doesn't matter.
Is he a singer?
Stop prying.
Oh, sorry.
He is a he, and he's a very interesting he, and you won't like to miss that part of the program, I promise. So get your cocoa.
Or cocoa. Or cocoa. Or cocoa.
And spend the next 3 hours odd with us on Sunrise. See you in just a moment.
Nigeria on my mind, born in diversity, blessed beyond compare. Ooh, through these 100 years, our struggles and through all our fears. We're strong in our unity. Peace, our destiny. Here we are, standing tall,
Yes, thank you for joining us this morning. Now, let's get the show started. Nigeria is faced with more security challenges today than ever in the history of our nation. Boko Haram insurgency, armed militancy, kidnapping, cattle rustling, illegal mining and mineral theft, smuggling, nomadic breeders, farmer-herder crisis. I mean, the list just goes on and on. Nigerians increasingly report feeling less safe, which has affected travel and trade throughout the country. Complicating each of these security challenges are persistent issues of trust, especially concerns over corruption and abuses against civilians by security forces. To help us look at this in detail this morning, it's my pleasure to welcome a security consultant who is joining us all the way from Canada, Pastor Laddie Thompson. Good morning.
Morning. It's my pleasure.
Right. We also expect a security consultant to join us in the course of this segment, Mr. Sheyi Adetayo. So, Pastor, I know you are not on ground, but being a security consultant, I'm sure you are in touch with everything that's happening at home. How far do you think we have gone in this search to make our country more secure? Are we succeeding?
Now, that's a very interesting one because you will be my witness, and I guess if Channels TV would choose to roll out a lot of its old tapes, interviews over the past almost 20 years, because I remember the earlier days when we used to come for interviews in Kenya. You'll find out that I have kept saying that until a doctor is able to properly diagnose a sickness, it is impossible to make any accurate or give an accurate cure to that sickness. So the truth is is that what is playing out right now, we saw this 10 years ago. What is going to continue to play out until we decide to diagnose properly and apply the cures to it is that, honestly, this is not going to stop. It has somewhere it is going. And if we continue to handle things like this, it will get there. I've always said to you from the beginning, it is not a local problem. It is a national problem. It's not just a national problem. It has its global roots. It's a hydra. We've said these things over and over again. And if you keep prescribing Panadol for somebody who has a cancer, that is also complicated with HIV and Ebola as well, then you find out that each time we cry for people, it's crocodile tears.
Oh, Pastor Thompson, at the end of it, at the root of it all is a cell. Cancer begins with just one cell out of 37 trillion in a human body. So there are those who would also tell you that no matter how bad the situation of insecurity is anywhere, it begins with just one locality. That is why you, security consultants and experts, tell us all security is local. It may have global proportions or dimensions, but at the root of it is just one cell, one locality. So maybe we should begin from there. Are we getting it right in terms of dealing with the base level of insecurity in the country?
Well, I wish complexity theory. I do wish that your delivery, I wish it was as simple as that, honestly, because if it was, it would be very convenient for us to. In fact, let me tell you something. We designated Plateau State as the final frontier many years ago when I was consulting for the government in Plateau State, when these troubles hit them. Now, let me tell you why you need to study complexity theory to understand this thing. Let me take you back to 2005. Tony Blair, if you remember, after certain things that happened in England, he said, whatever this thing is playing on our tolerance and our good nature. He said it exploits the tendency to guilt for the developed world, as if it is our behavior that should change. That if we try to work out and compromise with them, act on their grievances, they will just leave that evil. If we change our behavior, they too will change their own. Now, Tony Blair said something. He said this will be a catastrophic misunderstanding. Their cause is not founded on an injustice. It's a supremacist agenda. It was well thought out. It is well oiled. It exploits religion, wears religion as a cover. And the kind of fanaticism that's involved is not the kind that can be moderated. It cannot be remedied. It has to be stood up to. Listen, Tony Blair there in 2005 said, of course, they will use any cover, any matter of dissent within the structure of governance, of democratic governance. They will exploit it. And he says, look, what we need to do is to lay bare the devilish logic behind all these manipulations if we really want any proper results. So if we borrow from Tony Blair, you will find out that if we are going to face this thing, it is something that has been sweeping through the nation. It has an objective. Right now, it is concentrating on Plateau State for a reason. It can be read. It's predictable. The Fulani militia is rising again in its terror moves, and there's a reason why the Boko Haram sort of sub-pedaled a bit, although they keep making it known that we are still here. Now, don't forget that behind all that, the brains behind it is more of the ISWAP till day after tomorrow. So if anybody keeps deceiving anyone, I'll keep saying the same thing over and over. People are dying, and it seems as if somehow the nation seems not to be able to get a grip on what is going on. Listen, the recent attacks on Mangu, if you remember what happened in Mangu, the village, some weeks ago, afterwards go and get the right reports. You will find out that the people in the community began to contribute money to get their own defense, because practically everybody there has lost hope, lost complete faith. Look, no matter how much, don't forget that media is a force multiplier. And that if we are not careful, the enemies of our nation will use our national media, even foremost media like Channels Television, as a tool to further their own cause if we are not careful. So trust me, if it was easy as that, let me get practical today. Let's get practical. When I was consulting for Plateau State, first of all, I feel for Caleb Muftuan, the governor of Plateau State. When it was a man who had been in the military, Jonah Jang, who had been in the Air Force, I recall very well how despondent, how confusing the whole thing can be when all of a sudden blood begins to spill all over the place. You don't even understand where it starts from. Now, I addressed their cabinet at that time, and I began to tell them something that, listen, except we mathematize the inquiry, we're going to continue to run down in circles. And I said to them that if they go back into their history, the last time the Bauchi Emirate launched an attack in 1873 in Plateau, they were able to resist. And since then, they have had this pride amongst themselves, the Taroks, the Afizere, that they believe that, they have about almost 40 sub-tribes in the Plateau. They've had this invisibility cloak that, we can handle all these challenges. And I said something to them, the drumbeat has changed. This is no longer the old threat of Danfodius level of thinking. This is much more modern. This is much more concentrated. Listen, 1903 was when the Hausa traders arrived peacefully in the Plateau. Don't forget that the colonials, the whites, came and settled in Naraguta in 1910. Now, if you go back all the way, you're going to find out that the migration, the mining towns, remember they always had mining towns in Plateau State? Go back all the way, mathematize this thing, project the modern developments. I think the only thing that was surprising that anybody never saw coming was 1978, when the Jama'atu Izalatil Bidawai Kamatu Sunnah decided to place their headquarters in Plateau State. Now, anybody will tell you that if we look at all these things, it's not as difficult as that. I've kept telling you, go back to Justice Nikitobi report, 2001. Just go around and look at all the records. I remember while I was talking to the cabinet, one of the commissioners almost burst into tears. I think because I mentioned his father's name, Bitrus Manjang, who was slaughtered in their village. So I asked them a question. I said, what exactly do you think you are dealing with here? And when I broke it down, I was able to get them to see clearly that you are dealing with a hydra. And when you are dealing with the hydra, don't make the mistake of tackling one head of the hydra, because the other head of the hydra will bite you. Now, right now, the person that Caleb Mustang needs as a mentor right now is Jang. The reason why they are attacking Mangu more than any other place right now is because that is his base. Go and find out. And it's also, we're back again to the divide and rule. You are going to find out that they're even playing some psychological games on the minds of, look, the Biroms are the majority in Plateau State. But don't forget that you have the Afisere, the Tarogs, Angas.
If you can hear me, Pastor Thompson, it's very heartbreaking to even hear these things that you're saying. And a number of people will be wondering, is it so intractable? I think it was a few weeks ago, we had the privilege of hosting the governor of Tuang when the attack happened. I think it was after the attack of Christmas time. And he said there are communities in the state that have been occupied by so-called non-state actors, and that he needed to go see the president to talk about it. Maybe, as you said, it just beats me. We have military, we have police, we have the military, we have the police, we have all levels of security agencies in the country who are empowered by law to do certain things, take certain steps and all. So when I heard the governor in that interview say we needed political will to root these folks out, I was wondering what he meant. So what do you think that meant? Is it something that is empowered or enforced by government, that we should have non-state actors occupying certain communities in a state? Help us understand what that means.
His estimate was very conservative. The reality is that the amount of occupied territory that we have that have been renamed, and nobody needs to doubt this, because there are security boards that contain the new names that many of these communities have been renamed. Now, let us get practical, because people are dying, and we need to, at one point in time, we're going to realize that in a way, everybody's a victim. We are like playing chess with grandmasters, and we are, people who are not known for any strong architectural thought. So let me tell you something right now. That's why I said to you that Junior Jang is a Birom man. And at a time like this, because he's in the same party, I'm above party politics, but I'm told that he's in the same party as, I think he should be in the same party as Caleb Mustang. The first thing they need to do, if they want to make any progress right now, is that Caleb Mustang needs to understand something. People claim that everything rises and falls with leadership. It is not true. Everything rises and falls with effective communication. They need to put that principle in them. When I addressed the cabinet in 2008, these were the kind of things I spoke to them there. These are not the kind of things one should be talking about, but it's becoming too painful. Now, when he realizes that effective communication is the key to the solution for his own territory, which we can make the final frontier, the first thing I think they need to do is to get the cooperation of a man like Johnny Jang and the Biroms, who are the majority, and bring together what I call an intertribal protocol of understanding, sign an MOU, so that all the 40 plus other tribal nations within the plateau will come together as one entity. If they cannot do that, the gaps keep being exploited. It is being exploited as I'm speaking right now concerning sentiments. Number two, he said he was going to go and see Mr. President at that time. Let me tell you the truth. He has to go and see Mr. President truly, because the Mr. President in many ways is a unique fellow. I have to be very frank with you when I want to say something right now. In the game of chess, if you play chess, you know that people who play what they call the Caro-Kann defense, the Sicilian, Scandinavian, Italian, King's Indian, Queen's Indian, and all that. The president of Nigeria is a man who has mastered something known as the Nashdorf. Nashdorf is the most complicated system to master in chess. But somehow, I mean, I'm saying this figuratively, the president of Nigeria, who, I mean, of course, I have my own objections, but we cannot take it away from him that he has mastered certain things. Now, I believe that what the governor needs to do is to get a team together and to be able to get to the Mr. President to lay open what the real story is. And I know that it may be difficult for someone like Khalid Muftang to get to the depths and intricacies of this, but he should be well prepared because the president will listen, because it's going to come back and affect him later on. Now, to be frank, Plateau States needs to sit down and after they get together, remember that the solution to some of these things is not just local. Okay. It's not just local.
Okay. We've since been joined by Dr. Sheyi Adetayo, a security consultant. Good morning.
Good morning.
And congratulations.
Thank you.
I see you are now a doctor.
Thank you.
Okay, let me start from where I started with the question that I asked Pastor Thompson to begin. Do you think we're making any progress in our search to secure this country?
Okay, so I listened. The word you used there was success. Are we succeeding? Yeah, that was the word that you used. And I can say not yet. But are we making progress? Yes, albeit very, very slow progress. The problem is that we fail to understand the enormity of what we have at hand. And I've been shouting this. It's just about what we read, what few people are able to talk about. Nobody has really come out to let Nigerians understand the enormity. I remember at the height of Boko Haram, I was saying, tell Nigerians what these problems we are facing, what we need to do. This battle cannot be won without Nigerians' involvement. You need the people, and the people cannot fight a battle they don't understand, because they need to know how to prepare, what level of involvement are they going to be, and then what areas that government actually needs their support. Until we come out and lay it bare. It's
Which
not just
actually
about,
tallies with what Pastor is saying about communication.
and see, most times it's about, okay, we don't want to scare the people. The news are there.
We are already
ready.
scared.
So people are scared. We really need to actually talk about this. And it's not about, organizing a national conference and bringing people that have lost touch or people that are just come and start giving us theory. It's not about theory. It's about bringing the real principal actors, those who understand the problem, and let us talk about it and let Nigerians understand. See, issues in Plateau, insecurity in Abuja, growing insecurity in Lagos, there are different factors, but something is common. So one common solution. Our criminal justice system is one of the most terrible in the whole world. We are gratifying criminality. We are making crimes to be attractive. Imagine, just yesterday I read 2 people were sentenced in Kaduna court for internet scam, 2 years imprisonment with option of fine of 150,000. Now, the money they swindle the foreigner is actually much more than the offer of, the fine being pushed forward. Now, what message is Nigerian court communicating to the young ones there? Go ahead and make sure you still big money. They will give you offer of fine, you pay peanut. So all I need to do is just set aside 1 million naira. And then I go out and commit the crime. But when the court I say, okay, take the court won't give me more than 200,000, 500,000 fine to pay, and I'm off the hook. We need to look at the way, the kind of communication, again, what we are communicating in terms of our law, in terms of our prison system, in terms of our law enforcement. You see, former President Obasanjo, when he came to power in 1999, came up with what we call grand strategy for national security. It's important that we need to actually revisit the document. It's a document that takes care of all we need to do to ensure that we have a secure country.
At the heart of whatever document it is people.
Of course.
More than once we have heard that, quote and unquote, powerful politicians are behind a host of insecurity issues that are being raised. Former governors in the north made that comment. In fact, I think it was the governor of Zamfara State who said that there are powerful forces that are fueling this insecurity. The current Minister of Solid Minerals has said more than once that powerful politicians are behind illegal mining, which is fueling some measure of insecurity in different parts of the country. So what needs to be done there? Or are we just palliating are we just papering over cracks, to quote my colleague? Or is there something, because when you talk about the criminal justice system, it is people that came up with the law. It is people that will execute the law, that will enforce the law. And it is people that are making the system vulnerable. Are there people who are exploiting the weaknesses or the loops or the gaps in our systems?
Okay, so it's not the first time that we're hearing about that. Remember the late NSA at a conference, that is the one that died in the helicopter crash, said, it is certain political party with the leaders there, we are behind the problem in Nigeria. And several other people at that level have come out of the bottom. The issue is, has anyone been prosecuted? Have we done anything to bring anyone to book? I'll give you one example now. Something happened in Ibadan. Bomb, explosives, explosion in Ibadan. Now, the people involved said, we are operating legally. Yeah, there's one thing for you to have a license to operate. Another thing is for you to comply with, existing regulations on storage of explosives. Who are those responsible for checking, monitoring explosives being used by minors? Have they been brought to book? Will they be brought to book? We've seen several ones that happened in the past. Nobody is prosecuting anybody. And if you're not making examples, see, the reason why we see the United Kingdom, United States, Canada, they are, functioning because of the rule of law. Nobody is above the law.
Okay.
You offend, you are punished. You see, I will always appreciate President Obasanjo for one thing. When it comes to taking certain actions, when it comes to security, he doesn't waste time on issues around that. And that's to bring me back to that. You remember when Plateau issue was at its height then? It was during Obasanjo era. State of emergency was declared, and certain actions were taken to actually kill the problem as at that time before, after successive government, the problem started rearing its head again. There is a time when we need to take a decisive action. For now, anything short of state of emergency on security in Nigeria cannot solve this problem.
Okay. Pastor Thompson, let's talk about kidnapping, which is also becoming quite rampant. I mean, it's all over the country now. It's not confined to any particular state. I think it was last week or so, some high-up person said that a lot of this was happening because of poverty. These kids see the opulence in which the leaders live, the amount of monies that are stolen, which then shows them the stark reality of their situation and how hopeless their situation is. And they now try to make their own attempts at getting rich by kidnapping people and asking for ransom. Do you agree with that assessment of the reason for the widespread kidnappings that we have now?
Well, I want to tell you that the average Nigerian is a good person. And sometimes when I listen to these things, if not that I've spent about 30 years in the field, watching the trickles of blood turn into torrents, I honestly sometimes would want to keep quiet. But if again, when I think about families that are suffering from all these things, what we're dealing with is opportunistic. It collapses nations from within. The kidnapping aspect is just one of the things it is exploiting. Because when you go and look at the patterns of kidnapping and you study things very well, in fact, let me agree halfway with Mr. Adetayo. Because even when General Obasanjo became president, I would tell you that the document he used then, the president himself will tell you that he has since then been on a learning curve. I recall having a meeting with General Obasanjo just afterwards when I said something to him that, listen, even during your time, X, Y, and Z was building up. And that I'm not saying that you're not going to disagree, but as time goes by, it will become evident I was in his home. I had a meeting with him. Now, the truth is this. Some years later, after he went for a meeting in East Africa, he came back to Nigeria with a more robust understanding, and because he's a man of action, he began to demand for certain things. So I'm back again that if we really love our country and we love this nation, I've said something. We, from the church community, we are the first in its line when it first landed in the country. So we've had a longer time to study it, but we realized quickly that it was not just against the church, it's just exploiting the divisions that we have in religion. And so if we really want to get this thing right, we need to stop, quibbling and running after red herrings. We need to have a more robust understanding of what we are facing. And I've told you something, even during Jonah Jang's tenure, go and find out how we brought the temperature of Plateau State down. Effective communication is the answer to this thing. Because what this thing is doing is that it is exploiting all the gaps in the country. I'm insisting that the governor of Plateau State needs to get certain elders, work with them together, people who understand this thing very well, and paint an accurate picture. The president has advisors. By the time we look at where this thing is taking Nigeria, I can assure you that I said something about the Nigerian president. He doesn't play Sicilian defense. He has mastered Nashdorf, the most complex of chess strategies. You will see a change of policy. But if we don't effectively communicate to him what he's really up against, don't forget that on the way of his political ambition, there are many compromises that have to be made. I will never forget, was it 2019, on July, when Fashion was his daughter died, and when the serving president at that time was still looking forward to his ambition. I remember his speech then when people were shouting, oh, the Fulanis did this and all that. He said, look, I'm extremely concerned about security and I don't want any stigma. I can go through the history of kidnapping in Nigeria. I remember his words. He said he can go through the history of kidnapping in Nigeria and you know where it all started, and there are a lot of copycats. And they said, look, what of Evans? How are you sure it is Fulani? Now he is president. He is now a sitting president. And I believe that as a good chess player, if the reality was brought to his table, not only from the local perspective in Plateau State, the regional, the progression that is national. Let's not forget that. Let's not be fooled by people coming to try and pull, we've kept trying this palliatives. They are not working. Now, if Mr. President gets a proper picture of what this is, I am now sure that this president has what it takes to understand the finer details. Because you are dealing with something that is so intelligent, you would not believe how intelligent it is.
Are you assuming by any chance, my apologies, Pastor Thompson, are you assuming by any chance that the president is not fully aware or fully abreast of the facts?
Honestly, let me tell you something. First of all, don't forget that every politician thinks about the next election. It's statesmen that think about the next generation. And whether you like it or not, ambition often blinds the vision of men. Now, what I'm banking on now is the fact that now that Mr. President has achieved his ambition, he should be thinking about his legacy now. Now he has advisors. I believe that it is difficult for him. There's no background that he has that has to do with security like this. Even though while he was in Lagos State, some of these things tried to rear its head up. And I remember effective communication. I don't think I ever talked to him one-on-one then, at that time, maybe at another meeting. But effective communication helped us in Lagos State. I told you how that the man who was in Plateau State, Nikitobi report, that it was advised that he should be sacked with ignominy. The commissioner of police who aided and abetted. At one time, one of them was brought to Lagos. Effective communication, his tenure in Lagos was very short. Later on, that same fellow was now touted, and he became the Inspector General of Police for the entire nation. And by the time the church began, don't forget that I worked for CAN. When we heard that news, we were afraid. So we began to lobby, we began to find out, only to find out that the politicians were not really aware of some of the depth of some of these security issues. So I'm saying to you that even generals all over the world have found out that they needed to deconstruct their strategies. The traditional, like I keep saying, Clausewitz, the Treaty of War, and the trainings that generals received in those days can never handle this problem on hand right now.
Okay.
It is much more sophisticated.
And much more intelligent, you keep saying. Dr. Adetayo, complex as it may be, it all comes down to ABC. No matter how complex the coding of any software is zeros and ones, right?
Yeah.
So let's come to brass tacks. There are people in Nigeria who are aware of certain individuals that are responsible for some of the big issues happening in Nigeria. A former president in this country, President Jonathan, said that there were terrorists in his own administration. We know some of them clearly. I'm saying we now because, it's collective. How come we can't deal with the ones that we know?
I think this thing has to do with, you see, when we talk about political will,
and
it's about being able
go
to...
ahead.
The words you don't want to hear.
Yeah, but...
Because the laws are there, Dr. Adetayo.
We are in a complex society. Even our electoral, our election system, the voting system, voting pattern, political, behavior of our people, they're all hardened to this. You can imagine a community when they know that this man spent 8 years in government, built 10 houses in the same community. During election, he comes out again and give them money, they will still vote the man, knowing fully well that this man didn't have anything doing before going into power. So he stole the money in government and they will still vote him because they've collected money. That is the people. Now, coming back to this situation, see, before the advent of this current government, our issue largely has to do with those who had vengeance, those who want to plunder communities because of greed. But it has become complex now, because we now have, on top of that now, with people that ordinarily wouldn't want to go into crime, but because of the extreme poverty right now, their inability to even transport themselves from point A to point B because of inflation, though global, but it's also hitting really hard at home right now. They are now into crime. So it is now we're not just dealing with, people that are traditional or professional criminals. We're now dealing with people that are now circumstantial criminals now. So it's making it complex. And if we don't deal with this, we're going to go into another phase, very soon, where we're not going to start having, people in the middle class now becoming desperate to survive, because the kind of life that they are used to is degrading gradually. Because by the time they, convert their current income as middle class people into foreign currency, they are now poor. That's why you see a lot of them migrating. At some point where they can no longer migrate and they are stuck in Nigeria, then they'll become desperate. So these are the things that we need to start planning for. And another question...
You have not answered my question.
So remind me again.
You just succeeded in scaring us.
There are some people who have made public pronouncements that there are certain elements that are known to be fomenting these insecurity issues.
Okay.
Can't we deal with those ones, or are they above the law?
I was about going there. Now, you see, show me one person, one kidnapper, the last 3 years that has been sentenced.
Evans
is not the last 3 years. Evans' issue happened like 5 years ago or thereabouts.
All right.
I'm talking about the last 3 years. So what example as a nation are we given I will show him.
Does that mean that they are being shielded?
See, the way our laws are right now will kill this country if we are not careful. And that's the reason why we need to rise up and do the right thing now. Declare state of emergency on security. If we have to force the National Assembly to create a special court, create a new system where people now that are caught for kidnapping can be tried within 3 months. As if we can make laws for elections, to say elections, what is it called, trial, should not be more than 6 months. Can't we do it for insecurity?
Okay. Well, let me ask Pastor Thompson the same question. There are some people that have been identified by certain other elements. They made public pronouncements. A former president, former governors, even the current minister of solid minerals, and maybe one or two other persons have said that these people, there are people who are fomenting trouble. Since some people know these people, what is holding us back from taking action on them?
Well, here again, we need to be very, like I keep saying, Nigeria needs a lot of courageous people right now who will not, compromise seeing a future. Don't forget that we had a well-known Al-Qaeda sympathist who was in power, in government as a federal minister. I said this on one of your programs then. Now we have systemic flaws that were designed into our foundation. And you see, unfortunately, the average Nigerian doesn't realize that a lie after 1,000 years remains a lie. A faulty foundation after 1,000 years will not auto-correct itself. The average Nigerian doesn't understand that you can't bribe two parallel lines to meet. So what we're talking about here, if we want to really go into the overarching solution to it, I don't want us to get it mixed up. There are many countries that have a corruption problem, but they don't have a terrorism problem like we have. Let's not get it mixed. The terrorism problem is opportunistic. So it is riding on the fact that we are a thoroughly corrupt nation. And it is described as endemic. Now, why is Nigeria corrupt? It is not because Nigerians are corrupt. Nigeria is corrupt because there's a systemic flaw. And if we apply artificial intelligence, one of the programs I'm doing right now is applying artificial intelligence to sort out the Nigerian issue. And already, the beautiful thing about artificial intelligence is that as Africans, they say we are emotive, we're intuitive, we're incapable of critical thought, that we're unscientific. Okay. But now we have tools that can crunch data in volumes and at phenomenal speeds to draw conclusions if you know the right prompts to put in them. I'm working on a project right now in Nigeria using artificial intelligence, prompting all the things that have been put in, inputting all data for us to find out that what do we really need to do. Number one, we need to realize that we have to re-ideate the nation and expand our democracy from a three-legged stool to a five-legged stool if we want to tropicalize it, make it meaningful and workable. The bottom line is this: until we put value to the worth of the life of the average citizen, we cannot reap a great nation. But if we choose to give value to the life of the average citizen, then you'll find out that even what I got out of the artificial intelligence AI program showed me clearly you don't even need AI to see these things. By the time we began to round up on that project. So we're still working on these things, and we believe that when the time is right, with the right collaboration, because a country that is thoroughly corrupt, even when it sees what will be good for its future, you will find out that there will be leaks peoples and yes men all over the whole place who will want to shoot it down, not caring about the future. So if that is what we want to do, let us realize that solving terrorism is one problem. But for the overarching one, the average Nigerian is not a criminal, is not a crook. It's just that we have an endemic corruption problem. We have legalized corruption. And because of that, it is destroying all values, it's destroying all morals, it has hit all institutes. And because of that, there's hardly any hope. So I can say something to you again here. Everything doesn't rise and fall with leadership. It rises and falls with effective communication. So it behooves, if political leadership is not ready to do what is right, what is wrong with the older generation of statesmen putting heads together, knowing full well that there has to be a future. I keep saying this is where I miss people like Elder Ahmed Joda. In the few times I had the opportunity to sit at him with meetings and I listened to him, these are the people who kept a hope in us that we really can have a future in Nigeria together. We are stronger together. We can make it. It's only that we need a higher level of architectural thought to get the right vision, give value to human worth for each person, and then we can talk about the Nigerian problem. But people are talking about this terrorism problem. We better put on our thinking caps.
Okay. I thought I was the only one that always talked about the communication on these matters.
Doctor, in the course of this week, a former Minister of Communication actually came out and said during an interview that there were systems in place where kidnappers' phone calls can be tracked so that they can be dealt with. But the security forces were not using those systems. What do you make of that kind of statement?
I don't think that statement is correct. Though I didn't listen, but that statement is not correct. 100% false. It's not possible when you equip the security agencies, you train them and they will fail to use it. That's not true. Let me share what I understand. See, you have a situation where an organization like the Nigerian police, with 36 state commands, with FCC 37, ask how many tracking equipment in the possession of the Nigerian police? How many cases of kidnapping are they receiving on a daily basis? How many teams, even in Lagos here, we have a situation where the state government had to purchase equipment for the security agencies here in Lagos State to support what is coming from the federal. I know at some points that an agency like the police had issue with subscribing to some of the software that they had, but that has to do with an internal issue within the Nigerian police. But the point is, for any security agency in Nigeria to succeed, each state should have nothing less than 10 of such equipment. And a state like Lagos, with 20 local governments, should have nothing less than 20. How much are we investing into security? How much are we investing into campaigns? How much are we investing into jamborees? The money we spend, you see, there was a time in Nigeria where a governor would spend 10 million to do a project, and when they want to commission, they spend 100 million to commission a 10 million project. It's winding down gradually, but we're still having it, in some places.
Well, that's understood. But what Alero is asking you is something that we all, as Nigerians, were bamboozled into, so to speak. You either register your identity with NIN and match your join your name with your SIM card. And part of the advantages is to use it as a security tool. That minister is saying that that system is in place, but security agencies are not using it. That kidnappers still make calls and still get ransom.
What the said minister didn't understand is they say there's one thing for you to read briefs. Another thing is for you to sit with the people on the field to understand the complexity of all this investigation. Criminals are now moving away from the traditional, means of collection or communicating. We've seen where they are using WhatsApp. They are using, what is the other one, other popular one, Telegram and the rest, to communicate. And now, these are applications that are not honed by Nigerians or Africans.
They're encrypted communications.
They are encrypted communications. And the selling point of these apps is their inability to be broken into. That's what they are selling. And there are technology companies, I don't want to mention their name, that are working every day to break into those codes. The moment they're able to break it, they prepare equipment and they sell to government so that they can break into it. And the more they are trying to do this, the owners of the app are also introducing new, updated software.
Okay,
so that is why you see countries like UAE banning WhatsApp calls. So people try to circumvent that by doing voice. They do voice recording to change. And see, this is started when BlackBerry refused UAE to have access into, its server to be able to, investigate some, and they banned BlackBerry. See, for us to be able to do something, there are certain decisions that the government will need to. They are going to be unpopular. Decisions. Younger people are going to protest, but that's why we need to let the people understand why certain things has to be done.
Okay.
And then
we've run completely out of time, but I still need to take one sentence each from both of you. Pastor Thompson, so what do the poor, long-suffering people of Nigeria do to secure themselves?
Well, the long-suffering people of Nigeria need to know that to do nothing is to end up dying. Our nation will die a most painful death. And so we want to be motivated. We need to be able to, we know that poverty has been weaponized. The nation is divided. But there are still enough people across the entire country who know that if we can just get the right people to come together and to help us to diagnose properly the proper levels, tackle the immediate issues that are threatening the sovereignty of the nation, but much more beyond that, let us tackle the systemic problems we have so that we can lead a prosperous nation. Then that will work for all of us.
Okay, mine is very simple. We need to show the people how we want them to live. Our criminal justice system, we need to do something about it. Finally, Nigeria needs to declare a state of emergency on security right now and begin to take that hard measure. Let the people know why it has to be done, and Nigerians will cooperate with a government that they understand.
Dr. Seyi Adetayo, security consultant, who was with us in our studio in Lagos, and Pastor Ladi Thompson, a security consultant, who joined us virtually from Canada. Thank you very much for coming to share your insights with us this morning. Sunrise will be right back, and we'll be looking at...
Yes, artificial intelligence.
And good governance. See you shortly.
Thank you.
In a world hungry for goodness, with a splash of golden Terra oil, a mom can transform a frown into a smile. Make a lunch hour a happy hour. Change no thanks into yes please. Provide care when our nearest and dearest needs it most. And resolve family feuds without blowing a whistle. Providing tasty, nourishing family meals is all that matters. The world needs moms, because where there are moms, there is hope, happiness, and love. Golden Terra Oil, or pure love.
Hi. Now, let me tell you about Safari Valley Eco Resort, the first of its kind in West Africa. Upon your arrival, you are introduced to your butler, who plans your itinerary.
We were surrounded by wildlife from the moment we entered the eco park.
So many activities, all in the same premises. Visit the gym or the stables, they have it all. At my break, I'm able to practice my putting.
We also went fishing on a man-made canal. Our tour guides taught us so much about the wildlife and how to interact with them.
They used only electric vehicles here. This creates a serene environment. I'm told it's over 1,000 acres. My cabin here sits on 2 acres with a large terrace space overlooking my private swimming pool. Now this is royalty. They have their own farms, thousands of fruit trees. I can also have my lunch here at the waterfall. Quite a beautiful place you have here.
Visit Safari Valley Eco Resort in Ghana, bringing you closer to nature.
TerraCube is available in beef, chicken, jollof, and shrimp flavors at attractive prices of 50, 100, 200, and 500 naira.
TerraCube. Unwrap joy. Unleash taste.
Your flight will be ready shortly, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thanks for flying with us.
Breakfast in Paris. Lunch in London. This could be you. And there's more. Hey, Mai, tell them more.
Of course. Now this is what I call a win. And this could be you too in the Globe Festival Joy promo.
By recharging 50,000 naira or more within a month, you could be among our 100 winners who will win business class tickets from Lagos to Paris to London. If you recharge 100,000 naira or more in a month, you could be one of the many winners of a premium bungalow in Nigeria. The more you recharge, the more your chances to win.
How was your flight?
Delicious.
Glow Unlimited.
We must stand for Nigeria. I believe, Nigeria. Wishing on a star to take me where you are. Wishing on a dream, no matter how far it seems. Everywhere I go to see the love and flow, in unity to stand for, from south up to the north. Only when there's love can there be no cause to fight. Only when we fear God can everything be alright. One nation, great people, green, white, green. You're my brother, take my hand. One nation, great people, and everything will be alright. For the truth, without the problem, I'm from the roots. Pick up yourself now, pick up on you. Anybody causing problem now, make them kaput. Stand together now, people no fighting. One love is what we are preaching. Let's upgrade our understanding and stop this nonsense political doubting. That's potential, demand capacity, let's walk the walk, let's show the world. Say our head, yeah. Let's stand up for something, fight for the right thing, for whatever, moving for the future. Cause I believe in this entity called Nigeria. I believe peace and unity. One Nigeria, one nation, let's be great, white, green. One nation, let's be great people. We should live like sister and brother. Find a way to love each other. One love, one life, one Nigeria. If we stand as one Nigeria, unity will only make us stronger.
Well, as you can see, Alera is busy with her AI. Time to apply it to sport.
Being a baby boomer. Poor thing.
I didn't say
Well,
that.
you didn't have to
I
say
didn't
it.
say that. I didn't
Thank
say
you.
that. And I
Thank
don't
you.
want to say that really. It's just, I mean, why state the obvious? You know?
I'll have you all know that Ayo has done nothing but insult me all morning.
No.
Because I'm a boomer. And he is a Gen Z, right? Or is it Y? Gen Y?
I'm in the latter gens. Don't forget that there is a lost generation. You're not part of those ones. So, we're talking about the first conversation we had. Of course, you saw where it tapered into the fact that we can use AI to predict certain things concerning security, which is what Lady Thompson was talking about.
So why are we not using it?
Well, maybe we don't understand it. Let's get some understanding this morning. We have two experts who will be dealing with that conversation with us, because there are those who believe that artificial intelligence, that's AI, can aid Nigerian government, for instance, and our entities, government agencies, by automating tasks and all those things. And you also talked about something that AI can do the other time, that AI can help predict what can happen to some infrastructure.
Yes.
Yeah. So if that is a fact, right, what do we need to do? Wait a minute. I've been hearing AI. What is AI? What does it mean? Okay, because one of the contentions that I had in my head is, okay, well, my colleague says I don't know, but she says she's a baby boomer, but then most of the people who are in government today are from Gen X, right? They're Generation X. Do they understand AI enough to embrace it for good governance and all? Thankfully, we also understand that Nigeria is already in the process of coming up with what they call a national AI policy. All of that is in the mix this morning. We have two gentlemen join us to discuss it. Kingsley Order is an AI ethicist and researcher. Thank you for joining us this morning. Thank you very much. You will have to educate us on what that means.
Of course.
Sure. And we also have Mr. Dotun Adeoye, an AI transformation leader, joining us virtually. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Okay. Maybe I should take a bit of an introduction from you. You've done work in that kind of space for some 30-odd years. And, of course, I don't think I can say that AI is that old yet. But take us through what this understanding that people need to have about AI is, particularly people who are much older, perhaps too old, to understand what all of these technology things mean. I often say that the grandmothers of tomorrow, they will be holding technology in their hands. Help us understand, for those who do not, this artificial intelligence. What does it mean?
Thank you very much, Ayo. AI, artificial intelligence, is actually not a new technology. It's been around since the 50s. The current wave is quite exciting, but AI is typically a set of algorithms or robots that are sort of working on models and things that have been programmed into it to carry out certain tasks. So if you think about a lot of things that happened to us in the evolution of smartphones, emails, Alexa, Netflix, YouTube, most of these are being powered by AI. If you have a smartphone in your hand, you're already using AI. If you watch YouTube, if you watch Netflix, if you use emails, you're already using AI. So it's not that a parochial technology like most set it out to be. It's what you're using every time. I'm sure you have a smartphone in your hand, Ayo, and it's not a new technology, so we should embrace it, and there's a lot of promise and potential from AI.
Well, you just reminded me of an image that I saw once, a calculator, a clock, calendar, about 6 or 7 things that we would normally use individually, a pen, a paper, all surrounded a smartphone and said, you took our job. Is that what has happened?
Well, when we look at the question of AI, I know that there are several contentions as to what AI is, and if you look at it universally, there have not been a predefined definition that suits what exactly AI is. that suits what exactly AI is. But one of the things that we see that looks a bit acceptable is a definition that was made by the OECD, that's Organization for Economic Cooperation Development. Though they updated their definition late last year, but they defined it as a machine-based system which can, based on human principle or based on human objective, make predictions. So you see that the question of AI in itself, it is not a thing that has to do with just a foreign machine that comes to just hijack things and make people jobless or hijack things and make people confused. But you see that there are machines that, based on what the objective, a person behind the scene has imputed, then it gives a prediction, just saying premise 1, premise 2, premise 3, and then the conclusion. So AI in itself has, yes, it has some machines, some softwares have made life easy, but in itself, AI is not a robber that's come to probably like a thief in the night, that's stolen everything and left everybody amazed. So it's something that has been around for a while. I refer to most of us have entered the bank, that you see something talking to you, enter left, enter right. Though we know that in the past years, they are not as sophisticated as you can have them now. But the question of AI, the subject of AI, has been around for a very, very long time.
Now, Kingsley, I saw a video yesterday online, and it was tagged AI at work, even though after watching, there's a commentary at the bottom that says, oh, computer generated. But it showed a robot on a farm harvesting wheat. And of course, I mean, it's a robot, so it's a machine. It was working like a machine as opposed to having, so it was harvesting maybe about 20 times what a human being would harvest in the same amount of time. But it then said at the bottom, computer generated. Is it possible for that kind of thing to happen, for a robot to be programmed to actually go to the farm and just all day?
Oh, okay. So when we look at and when I refer to AI here, I refer to things that are within the class, artificial intelligence, robot, because they are all under classification of what we call foundational models. Now, how these particular things work is that human defines some set of objective. For instance, you can record how people harvest, let's say, tomatoes. So you can give several instances of how potatoes or tomatoes are harvested, and humans have different ways of getting their harvest. First instance. Second instance, we have several types of tomatoes. And there are times probably where there is ripe tomatoes. We have time where it is unripe. We have times where it is spoiled. So based on the attitude of human and the nature of tomatoes, all these are compounded together as data, and the algorithm is fed with it. So that when you get to this market, when you get to this field, and also the question of the type of land would also be considered, because we know that tomatoes grows differently on different lands. And also, when you're dealing with tractor, there are different lands that exist. So looking at all these things are instances we call data. So you feed the machines with this data, and then the machine go ahead to give you a result from those predefined objectives.
I think this gives me a bit of understanding. Let me ask you that question, Mr. Ade. So essentially, you're saying, if you agree with Mr. Wadara here, essentially you guys are saying that your AI or performance of your AI is as good as the information or the data you feed it, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if that be the case, knowing our experience here in our country, in the different states,
where there's no data,
that we have difficulty gathering significant data, how do we solve that problem? How do we then engage AI for good governance if we do not have sufficient data to feed it to give us the kind of results that we want?
Thank you very much, Ayo. The lack of data in Nigeria, I think, is a fallacy. We have data everywhere. I think the question is, where are we storing this data? If we think, let's take a very simple example of identification. So you have NIN, you have the driver's license, you have BVN, you have the national passport, Nigerian passport. You have registration in different layers and tiers of government. So the question then is, all this data you give when you get your NIN, or for you to open a bank account, or for you to get a Nigerian passport, where are these data stored? So it's not that we don't have data. I think in terms of part of what my organization, AI in Nigeria, is doing, is pulling together these stakeholders to say, let's do things differently. Let's see how we can potentially pull together this data and use them in a more sensible way for governance. Because if you look at model systems that are usually alluded to, there's always the issue of data. It's how you make your data become structured to be able to use it for the purpose of governance or business or whatever purpose. So we have data in Nigeria, but how do we use it is the question. And
Perhaps,
how do we ready enough to be used?
Yes, you also talked about how we store it. Well, there are those who would agree with you that we have data, but perhaps mostly scattered. Police has data, banks have data, road safety has data, who else? Various, people that people have to deal with. Immigration has data. Sorry?
Identity agency.
Identity agencies. Those you just have to show your face, show a form of identity that, okay, this is who I am, this is where I am. So all of that is there. So you're talking about the challenge of harmonizing the data first, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So where do we go from there? Because one of the challenges we've had over time is that of collaborations between the federal government agencies and state government agencies in some cases, and also that of even the ministries, departments, and agencies themselves collaborating to get things done. So how do we go from there? Where do we go from there? How do we achieve that harmonization and collaboration in a way that everyone will know that we're all working for the same purpose?
Thank you very much once again, Ayo. That's a good question, because there always has to be a catalyst. And part of what we notice is the existence of silos, which is the elephant in the room. The police, immigration, multiple tiers of government. And we are kicking off a conversation which we've started having with different stakeholders within this sphere. And we're pulling together an annual get-together, which, at the end of February, we're going to bring a lot of the stakeholders, the private sector, public sector, the civil society, the education sector, and different tiers of government, that we do have data in different locations, stored in different formats, largely unstructured. How do we harmonize it for the benefit of Nigeria and Nigerians? I was watching a program of Sunrise some time ago when we, you were referring to about the changing of, when we choose leaders, we're thinking about the president or the leader, but we should be looking at the engine of the car, not just changing the driver. And I think that the key here is we need to look at the processes that we have for data to help us. And it's very important that we work together in different tiers of government within the country to make things happen.
Well, let me come to Mr. Wadara. Talking about government engagement now, you happen to be part of a volunteer force, a volunteer group.
Volunteer expert group.
Volunteer expert groups.
Yes.
Okay. Are you a baby boomer? No, you're not. Just
of course not.
You help us understand. Nigeria is coming up with a national AI policy. We've been trying to get through to NIT that we've not been able to achieve that yet. Efforts made even as far as yesterday, as close as yesterday. help us understand what this national AI policy will achieve. What's it about? What will it achieve? Because the challenge has always been that of communicating fantastic ideas or policies to the people.
Okay, so I'm speaking as Kingsley here, not as the federal government, not as NIDA. Yes,
that's why we didn't call you by any title.
Oh,
we
great.
Are just an ethicist.
Yes. So I'm speaking at Kingsley here. And when we look at globally, when we look at the idea of policy usually is to guide in the usage of an affair. And often than not, policies lack what we call enforcement mechanism. Unlike you have laws, where laws we tell you that part of the structure of a law is that you can see creation of committees. For instance, the Data Protection Act that was recently released last year, you will see creation of committees or commission or bodies that would help to ensure that there is strict adherence to the work or to the provisions of the act. But in the case of a policy is just like a guide. So we'll talk about the national AI policy, and this is based on the public documents that was released by NITA. Is basically to help the policy adopted what we call a form of thematic area, just to help to address some specific sector, in Nigeria. Talking about the communication sector, energy, health, education, just to help in the proper guidance on how to use artificial intelligence, ways those things can be used, advantages, and basically how to get the best of those sectors using artificial intelligence. So the idea is just to guide on how to use it, because when people are not guided, it is either they don't use it or they abuse it. So that's just the whole idea. Okay. So it's not a regulation that has, because it's not released, and I speak based on the information that NIDA themselves released on the internet.
Okay. Mr. Adeoye, you said that AI has been around for a few decades.
Yes.
I'm reading something here that says AI tools can analyze government spending and resource allocation, thereby promoting transparency and accountability in the decision-making process. If AI has been around as long as you say it has, how come we haven't been using it in governance? And how come our systems are so fraught with loopholes that lead to all the corruption that we hear about?
Thank you, Alero. I think AI was coined by John McCarthy in 1956, the word AI, artificial intelligence. And like most evolving or new technologies, it takes a bit of time for most sectors of any polity or any country to adopt technologies. If you think about the different types of AI and format of AI or injection of AI, it's been used in one format or the other, but there has to be a champion to drive the adoption of new technology. And also the adoption of new technologies take a bit of time when you look at the adoption curve of any new technology or innovation. So there are challenges within Nigeria that we know in governance, and using AI will make things better. Yes, we may not have used it the way it should be used, but part of what is beginning to happen now, we have a youthful population of 60+%. So the push and the drive to use AI by both the younger generation and a bit older generation is beginning to take momentum. You just referred to the national AI policy or strategy. If we think about that happening now, we never have that. We never had that before. So I'm not speaking for the government, but what I would say here is that it's good that we are beginning to have conversation. And you also have organizations across Nigeria that are promoting and pushing these conversations to happen. So I am projecting that in the near future, very soon, AI will be more prevalent within the governance of Nigeria and different parts of even the private sector.
Interestingly, the NITA that we've referred to quite a few times here, has what they call a special purpose vehicle called the National Center for Artificial Intelligence and Robotics. But let me ask you, Mr. Adeye, what considerations do you think we need to take into account to ensure ethical and responsible use of artificial intelligence for governance?
Okay, so AI ethics is getting more and more prevalent, especially given the current wave of generative AI and AI widespread adoption, which led to the AI Safety Summit that happened in Bletchley in the UK last year. The adoption of AI ethics in governance is one of the things that organizations like NITDA has to promote. NITDA is an organ of the government that represents the people. And when there are more advocacy from different interest groups within the stakeholder group, then the government will take note of this clamoring and interest. There has to be a champion for AI ethics. There has to be almost like someone responsible. Yes, NITDA, but I will go further to say there has to be someone appointed either by NITDA, within NITDA itself, or from a responsible arm of the government to actually oversee this. In terms of regulating AI, looking at AI ethics, it's evolving across the world because when you look at any form of technology or innovation, it gets to a time when the government cannot fold its arms again. And I think the EU AI Act and the AI regulation organ that was also released in the US are two key things that the Nigerian government, NITDA, and whatever regulator that will be looking at the AI ethics and regulation want to do will be a benchmark. So there's a lot of opportunity and scope for AI ethics in terms of Nigeria. Yes.
Well, you know, one of the challenges that I've had, Mr. Wadara, is the people. I mean, Mr. Adeye was talking about the people representing, NITDA is an organ of government representing the people. Those people, as has been established, we're already using AI, but we are not even aware that we are using artificial intelligence. The awareness of it. So the challenge that I think he is also speaking to, which should be a concern, perhaps one of the considerations, is the caution that people need to take, because when the use of a thing is not known, abnormal use is inevitable. So how do we forestall that? What are the information that people need to be getting ahead of time so that we can prevent the abuse?
All right, thank you. This question just also takes back to the previous question, about AI ethics. You see, when it comes to the use of artificial intelligence, most times, especially in third world nations, or let's say especially in Nigeria, one of the things that happen to people is that they have excitement. Just imagine you're using like a generative model, and you just type, let's say for instance, a generative model that can do text to image, and you type, I need a photo of a man sitting in the office. And before you know it brings out a photo. And because of the excitement of getting what you want, you start to feed those things with your personal data, which ought not to be. Which means that those models, they would give a disclaimer. For instance, ChatGPT will give a disclaimer that they do not use users' data to train their model, right? Some will tell you that. But the fact is that artificial intelligence in itself is powered by data. And the thing is, the model ought to be better. So the more info, the more data you give about yourself, about your situation, about things surrounding you, the more it gets better, it's personalized the response. But at the same time, you are giving it, you are opening the back door to have access to yourself. So the idea about having a good governance of AI, especially in Nigeria, outside the fact that we are referring to having like a data infrastructure, we are having the question of skill and acquisition. The public awareness is also a key component. Why I have to tell people that, yes, these things are giving you what you want, but there are limits to what you can put in it for your safety. And we also know that AI tools or AI algorithms are prone to what we call hallucination. Yes, hallucination means that it can just give you what it thinks it is right, and it's not right. But as a person that would not employ due diligence, would just pick all the information and act on it.
Oh dear. So even in using AI, you still have to cross-check sometimes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, ChatGPT will tell you, I'm not as intelligent as you think I am.
Yes, yes. Because these things, apart from the fact that people shout, bias and discrimination, hallucination is part of it. Hallucination is giving you an opposite feedback from what you want. So it is good that outside the fact that you know how to input right prompts, because now the prompt engineering is becoming a skill that people are going after.
Prompt engineering.
Yes, prompt engineering. For instance, once you use your ChatGPT and you put on something, it's called prompt.
Okay.
So the more accurate.
So that's a special field of study now.
Yes, that's a special field.
You must know what to input to get the result that you are.
To get the right result that you want. Yes.
Okay.
So when people don't insert the right prompt, you get the wrong result.
Of course.
And then you put it in. So people must be aware that AI is prone to hallucination. Number two, organization must be careful, as to the kind of data you put in those tools. I saw something on LinkedIn, last week, and the person said that you want to build a company to compete with Google, and you are sending the info through Gmail. That was just a joke. But it's funny.
No, it's not a joke.
It's called daft.
Exactly. So that is what most people do. You want to build the next Fortune 500 company, and you are feeding ChatGPT your info. And you know that ChatGPT has the normal use, has a premium use, and has the enterprise use. And for the enterprise, what ordinarily other persons might not get, people using the enterprise for businesses, they get it because they use it to build their own models. So they call them foundational models, where they build other models from those models.
Oh, wow.
So when you exactly. So when you train those, when you now feed your organization code base to those things, it means somebody at the back end already have access to what you're building.
Information.
So your Nobel software or your Nobel idea is no longer Nobel because somebody already has it.
Okay.
So we must be careful as to what you feed it.
Mr. Adoye, what challenges might arise in implementing AI for good governance?
Implementing AI for good governance is quite a novel idea, quite a good idea. But implementing AI for anything, I think first and foremost, if you've been involved with any project within technology or outside, it's basically, I think it's the having the stakeholders buy-in. I think that's the first thing. If you don't have the stakeholders buy-in, you onto a very uphill task, because with AI, most stakeholders don't understand AI yet, and I think that we need to take 2 steps backward and get the stakeholders to actually understand AI in its current.
Pause, Mr. Adeoye. Will it lead to job losses? Because that is one reason people will have a pushback.
That's something I hear all the time, and I always laugh. And I'll tell you this reference. So if you imagine, before we had the World Wide Web, there was never an SEO manager, search engine optimization manager. So when the World Wide Web came, we now have a search engine optimization manager. So I imagine there were some postal offices or post office owners who have been jittery, thinking about what email would do to their business. So in direct answer to your question, AI is going to create more jobs than those it may take away.
Oh.
Yes, there will be some jobs that will be lost, but then you will then have, my colleague here mentioned things like prompt engineering. There are companies and individuals that will begin to offer those training. There will be chief AI officers. There will be data scientists who are probably not going to be employed before. There will be different opportunities in AI that the jobs that AI would create will be more than what it would take away. So I think we should embrace it because I think it's a misunderstanding that AI is going to create unemployment. Rather, given the case of Nigeria, we have a youthful population. It's going to create a lot of jobs.
You know, don't blame, pardon me, because we are running out of time. Don't blame those who are afraid. Because, for instance, there is no longer personnel managers. We now have HR managers. And so, while you will lose some jobs, you create others, but you have to upgrade skills, for those ones. Well, this is a conversation starter, gentlemen. We definitely will be engaging you from time to time to take this further. Dotun Adeoye is an AI transformation leader with more than 30 years experience in this space. Thank you for your time, as well as Kingsley Owadara, AI ethicist and researcher. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Okay, so I guess we now know that you can adapt your AI, the one you are carrying about. I hear there is one that, you can be in the market, right, and check your fridge. Your fridge will tell you how many eggs.
Oh, okay, so I will know whether to buy more eggs.
Your fridge will tell you.
Oh.
That's AI.
Oh, I'd love that one.
Oh, but it's quite expensive. We'll be right back for the next segment.
The new Peak Mini fits your pocket. Contains the right nourishment you need for your breakfast. Creamy and tasty.
This Peak Mini is just my perfect size, filled with the right nutrients, just for me.
This Peak Mini dey sweet my belly. Who fit believe say me sef fit do shakara with better enjoyment?
Enjoyment. Now this kind of breakfast I want to talk now. Introducing the Peak Mini Pack. Breakfast for you. Peak. Reach for your peak.
Labor Party, Oludi, Labor Party, Oludi, Labor Party, who's your guy? Now Olumide Apata, Oludi, see us we dey like beans and rice. Labor Party, I will never leave your side. I will never ever. My time, forever, time to you, my people. Even if the road is rough, I know mine. Cause together we shall stand. Labor Party, who's your guy? Now Olumide Apata. There you go. See us we dey like beans and rice. Cause together we shall stand.
Da abubuwa da yawa yau. Albarka. Ovaltine kyakkyawan zaɓi domin yara masu basira.
Imagine lovely meals you can cook with these ingredients. You spend heavily, but no guarantee of a tasty meal. Not making a right choice of seasoning cube can ruin your meal, money, and confidence. For a tasty meal, do not compromise. Choose Gold.
Use Terra Gold for the rich, consistent taste your loved ones crave for. Good for soups, stews, and jollof. Terra Gold. 1 cube, endless possibilities.
So you insist on doing what you want to do. Ṣé ọ̀rọ̀ tinú ẹ̀ ló máa ṣe láṣìwà?
Daddy Monlo. Daddy, I'm going to the city.
You children of nowadays, you are too much in a hurry. You need to be patient. Be patient.
Daddy, I've heard what you have to say, but I have to do what is in my heart. Daddy Monlo.
Let me tell you. Daddy,
sir,
you are on your
Most certainly.
That AI conversation turned out more interesting than I thought it would be.
I told you.
And it looks like AI is going to affect our lives, whether we use it or not.
It's already affecting your life.
One way or another is going to affect us. But it sounds very, even us boomers are paying attention.
And it will also give some people trauma.
Did you have to take it there? Did you have to take it there?
I'm sorry.
Yes, okay, it will give some people trauma, because we're talking about trauma in the lifestyle segment. What is trauma? There are different types, and there are different things that trigger trauma. Okay, trauma. What is trauma?
Before we go there, we have this message about the last conversation.
Okay.
No system, including AI, cannot effectively work without human input. We need national rebirth and reorientation in building institutions that are 70% not amenable to human manipulation. Until we build institutions that are stronger than individuals occupying them, it is akin to walking backwards or driving with both eyes firmly closed. So, using AI for smooth running of governance and its effectiveness depends on the political will. Oh, God, that again. That's from Professor.
Those words again.
Yeah.
Well, when it said it could look at the data regarding budgets and your spendings and all that for accountability and all that, I thought, well, if a crooked civil servant were in charge of inputting the data, he or she could input something that could encourage corruption instead of curbing it.
Well, the good thing about that is that the data is not just from one source, it's from multiple sources.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord.
It'll help
all that being said, Mrs. Adeola Kingsley James, good morning and thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me
Just
again.
before he rudely interrupted my train of thought, trauma. There are different types of trauma. There are different triggers. What does all that grammar mean? Well, we've got you in here. So let's start with what is trauma?
So I think I'll just give you what borderline or, I think trauma is something or anything that happens to anybody that leaves an emotional imprint. Most times is negative. And so the thing has happened and then we make it mean something. And that then is registered in our subconscious mind, which shows up consciously, and it's also registered in our bodies as well. Sometimes we don't even know that thing has caused the pain, because sometimes it's not even directly at us. It could be that we saw someone else, something happened to someone else, but we make it mean something, and then we carry that meaning continuously.
And in giving that definition, you said something, we don't even know that it is something that caused that pain.
It is painful.
You used the word pain.
Yes.
So trauma, pain.
Yes.
They go together, do they?
Yes, they do. It's a painful experience. And, when people say, okay, so what can cause? Anything can.
But there's something that you said here that I think I want to help. So first you said at some point, you said trauma has a bit of pain about it. Then you also talked about the fact that it is mostly negative, suggesting that there's a likelihood that there could be some positivity to it. You may want to speak to that as well. But so maybe you want to address that one. When you say mostly negative, can there be positive trauma?
Well, I say mostly because, not everything is 100%. That's why I said mostly. But majorly, it's from a painful experience that happened to us.
Okay. Now, what types are there? Because, maybe I should ask you before going there. Is it possible for people to be traumatized and not know it?
Yes, it is. Because we didn't learn so many things, right? And it's not our fault, neither is it the fault of anybody who has taught us. But if you have triggers, it's come from somewhere. especially negative triggers. And so you might not know, you hear people say this is just who I am, but it isn't. Right? It is something that has happened to you that you have registered in your, like I said, your subconscious mind that is making you show up the way you are showing up. Because once again, I always go back to the formative years between the ages of 0 and 7. I'll say there are almost about 8 developmental stages, but I only focus on the first 4, which is your infancy, your toddler stage, your preschool, and your school years, early school years. So that's between 0 and maybe about 8. Right? So many things has happened to you from when you were a baby till when you were 9 that you don't really understand or you don't know has happened until it starts to play out later in your life. Now, of course, some people, I mean, trauma doesn't necessarily start from there. Some people, they went to war and then they have PTSD after that, right? So it will be different things at different times that could cause that painful experience because once again, it's the meaning that you give to it that makes it painful.
Okay, I'm a little lost. Because the issues around... Okay, I saw a movie many years ago. The movie is titled The Cell. It featured Jennifer Lopez. Now, one of the things that made that movie very resonant with me every time is that in that movie, they had a serial killer. Now, this guy went everywhere to kill. So when they wanted to... Now, this criminal had someone stored up somewhere whose clock was ticking, and they wanted to rescue the fellow. Now, the kidnapper had become, what's the word now, immobile, unable to move anymore. The only way they can get to that person whose clock was ticking was through the mind of the kidnapper, the criminal, the serial killer. So they went into his mind by some technology, it was in the 90s, and they saw a little child dodging. Is that kind of thing, it keeps coming to mind because sometimes I feel like a few of us, we have that baby somewhere, almost always hiding, but we don't even know that, this child is there. So, are there occasions in our human lives, whether as adults or as mothers, grandmothers, young people and all, where our situation gets us to the point that we know these things exist, but we don't know the point where they come from. This fellow, for instance, was traumatized, created a kind of, I don't know, what do we call it now? Some kind of image in the head. So is that kind of thing real in real life with some people from the experiences that you know about how people live their lives?
I believe so. Because like I said, between the ages of 0 and 7, most of the things that happen to us we're formed 85%. Now, that guy definitely, I used to be so judgmental before, Ayo. I would hear things and I immediately just jump into conclusions that this person is this, person is that. But because of the knowledge I now have, the first thing I ask is, how did you grow up? Any client I speak to, they can come out saying, oh, I'm married to a narcissist, or I'm married to a this, or my this is that, whatever case they come up with. My first question is, tell me about your upbringing between the ages of 0 and 10. Tell me. And immediately you can hear the problem. Immediately. Now, they don't know because, what you don't know, right? And the truth also is that hurt people, but hurt people hurt. So I'll share, I wrote down a few things. I'll share a couple of things that if you have codependency issues, then it's a traumatic response. If you are very needy,
codependency.
Yes.
What's that?
When you're always dependent on other people, you want people to keep looking at you and telling you you're great, validating you. That means as a child, you didn't get it. And so now in your adult child, because you're still a child, you have just grown up, that child still exists, and that's why they saw that child running away in his mind, because it's the child that is acting out in the adult body. The child never grew up. The child never got its needs met. And so you have offender behavior when you behave, you behave badly to other people because that's how they treated you, or you behave badly to yourself because you now do exactly what was done to you. You have narcissistic behaviors where you want to be admired all the time. You want people to keep looking at you and telling you how great you are. Everything is about you. Somebody tells you, oh, you did this to me, and they find a way of turning it back to you being the problem and they being the best one. You have, hold on, trust issues. Some people tell you, I will never trust anybody again. It's a trauma response. I remember when I was put in a particular school between SS1 and SS3. And I stayed in a relative's house, and I hated my experience there. Hated with a capital H-A-T-E-D. I was molested there as well. Different things happened to me, right? Till now, I've blocked out the complete experience of my 3 years there to the point where I don't even remember the names of the people I went to school with. At all. And that was 3 years of my life. And some people have that. And then some people, you came out of a terrible romantic relationship. You don't want to trust anybody anymore. So all these are trauma responses to things that happen. But when you really, really check it out, you will see that it goes back to when they were children. Father abandoned them. Mother was too busy working. Father was an alcoholic. Mother was on drugs. You had to look after your parents. You had to be there, surrogate wife for your father because your mother was never available. Surrogate husband for your mother because your father was never available. Your mother will walk around naked and she thinks it's okay, you're a child, and that creates an imprint in the child. So many things that we think don't matter are doing these things to children, and these children go out into the world to become what? And they carry that pain. You've got to, and you don't know sometimes. You think it's normal, but it's not. I have a list of things, but I don't know how much time.
This is deep.
I don't know how much time I have. Sometimes you're just shouting at somebody.
So, you see an adult behaving, I don't want to say badly, behaving the way he's behaving.
Like a child.
And it's all because of something that happened to him in his childhood.
Yes.
Maybe when he was 6.
0. Maybe when they were still babies.
Wow.
But they can't even remember.
You think
because they were babies.
That's what you think. Your body registers everything. Your mind registers everything. I've had clients who in hypnotherapy went back to their mother's wombs and heard that somebody say something about their lives, and that's how they were living it out now. And those people were almost 50 years old.
Wait.
Wait.
Excuse me?
I promise you.
Your
body keeps scores. They say babies come empty. We don't. We don't. That's why you see some babies jump. You just see them jump. It's what they heard their father and mother shout all the time. So they come anxious. And you don't get it. So it's way deeper than we think it's a joke. These days, when pregnant women come to meet me the first thing I beg them to do is make sure that you're in a place of peace and calm. And why is it? I remember when I was pregnant, I said to my child, if you're a girl, I want you to come out light-skinned like me. You can have all your father's features. I have no problem with it. If you're a boy, I want you to be a dark boy because I don't like yellow men. And my daughter came exactly with what I said. Exactly. To the line on my husband's forehead, she has it. So we're not deaf. Don't forget, you're connected to that baby. So your emotions is connected to that baby's emotions. Everything about you is stuck in that baby. They can hear everything. They have ears.
Okay.
So they come
And then they see all these things. We can pretend or we can lie to them that everything is okay, but they see it. And children catch more from unspoken words than even spoken words.
There are no pretenses today.
Wow.
Exposing us to ourselves, no way.
So, how does one deal with trauma?
Okay.
Before you go there, sorry, Alero, what types of trauma are there? Because some people may not even know that whatever it is that they have is because of trauma, or they do is because of trauma.
So I would rather say some of the symptoms, some of the things that if you are consistently anxious, it's a type of trauma. If you're fearful, it's a type of trauma. If you are catastrophizing all the time, if you only see the worst case scenarios, is a kind of trauma. If you're not sleeping well at night and you wake up in a jolt and you're sweating all the time, or your tummy gets tight, or your heart gets tight just because you're in a situation where you're uncomfortable, it's a kind of trauma. So you see those guys who come back from war, they have to go through therapy. Otherwise, they wake up in the night, they're angry all the time, they're shouting all the time, they're quickly irritated by everything and everyone. Those are signs of trauma.
How significant is that kind of thing on people's lives?
Oh, you know, your body is the instrument of your mind. So let's even start with what it can do to your physical body. You can have all kinds of diseases with all those things stuck in your body, down to cancer.
Whoa.
Down to it, because your body is if you're happy and excited, most times your body is happy and excited. If you are not, it's the same thing.
And if
it's
you're
the same
hopeful?
thing. If you're hopeful, well, I mean, it depends on how hopeful you are. Because some people they say they are hopeful, but they actually don't believe in what they're saying.
They're actually anxious.
Yes. And so most people are consistently worried about all the things that are happening that they have no control over. And then one day somebody asked me, what is one of your self-care tips? I said, I am anxious about nothing. She said, in Nigeria, as a mother and wife, in Nigeria, as a boss, I said, I worry about nothing because I know there's nothing I can do about tomorrow. I can only deal with now. And my now right now is I'm here and everything is rosy. But people are thinking, oh, my daughter, oh, my son, oh, my husband, oh, my wife, what will we eat? How will we feed? There's nothing you can do about those things. So when people say, okay, so what if now something happens? When we get there, we will deal with it.
Now, tell me, we'll still get to Alero's question, but tell me about triggers. Some people say certain words, you just say something to them. Okay, this is a movie, but I saw this movie that is Hancock. Everything was okay, and then at some point, this Will Smith character Hancock was walking away, and someone just used the word, and he just paused with his back to the fellow. And then he said, just face the fellow, says, say that one more time.
And you'll see me, you will see my true color.
So is that a kind of trigger in real life?
So a trigger is something that is already existing inside you. And I tell people this. So someone says something, someone does something, it triggers something that already exists in you. All they just did was put on a light.
So saying it is pulling the trigger.
That's all. Yeah. That's all. So it's not that person. It's the incident that has already happened, that is established in you. There was a time I used to, when I initially got married, when my husband would say certain things in a particular way, I used to wonder why my blood would just be boiling. Meanwhile, in his mind,
perfectly innocent.
But I would be bored. So one day I had to sit down within myself to say, why do I react this way when he says this thing? And what I realized is I was hearing my father in him. And I spent 19 years or 18 years of my life trying to show my father that he's not as wise as he thinks he is. That I am wiser than him. Because I was like, rebellious child, and my father in his mind felt he wanted to break that rebelliousness in me because that's what he knew, right? And one of the roles of the rebellious child is to take power off the adult. So you think you're smart, I will show you that we will meet in front. So now I broke, my father that tried to break me couldn't break me, then you. So it was transferred aggression from my father that I couldn't attack to somebody that I felt I could attack.
Somebody your size.
Do you understand what I mean? So that it wasn't anything he said. It wasn't him. It was what I interpreted what he was saying to me and what I connected it to.
Good. So back to Alera's question. Treatment.
Okay. So my own treatment personally was therapy. I did therapy. I had to, and honestly, I don't think anybody can really, really do it on their own.
Rewind.
Therapy.
You did therapy.
Yes.
Meaning that
I submitted myself to a therapist
as a result of
what I felt like I was showing up as that I didn't like.
Which you considered to be
traumatic.
Trauma.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so because one of the things I didn't feel like was I didn't feel loved as a child. And it's not as if my father told me I don't love you or my mother, but I didn't. I just didn't.
So no matter what they did, it was
didn't
just
matter.
your own interpretation.
But then guess what? Because you have already established something, things will start to happen that will corroborate what you have already established.
Even if they didn't, but in your mind,
yes,
they did.
Exactly. So what started happening was, okay, because I was a rebellious child, they would send me away. At a point, like I said...
It's because they don't love me that they've sent me away.
Exactly.
Yes.
You know, everybody is here. I'm the only one that they have sent away, so they don't love me.
Yeah.
I remember one instance, my aunt told my parents a lie, and nobody asked me if it was true or not. They believed her. And so things kept on happening for me to say, it's true. They don't love me. Yeah. So that story continued, and then I became a people pleaser because I wanted people to like me.
Validation.
Exactly. I wanted people, the things that I didn't get from my parents, I wanted to get it from people. But then you start to look for love in all the wrong places. And so when you find yourself dating the same kind of people and they keep hurting you, it's not them. It's something in you that is attracting them. So when I found myself in that place of pain, and in fact, it was almost like the worst, I think everything just came crumbling down for me, you know, at the same time. And the only thing that gave me hope at the point was maybe my daughter. So I decided to go for therapy. And so that was the first thing that I did to make me even understand why I felt unloved.
Okay.
You know, this word trauma and therapy first became rife in this country. It's taken when the Chibok girls happened. And a few of them were able to run away. And there was talk about, oh, they have to go for therapy.
For sure.
Oh, they have to go for therapy. And we began to use that word like every day. So what kind of therapy does a child who was kidnapped in the middle of the night, a 13, 14-year-old girl who's kidnapped in the night, probably saw hell in the bush with her kidnappers. What kind of things do you say to a child like that as her therapist?
So I think the first thing is to ask the child what they made of that entire scenario. And I really cannot tell you in 100%, oh, this is what you should do, or this is what you should do. First of all, they've been through a painful situation. So there'll be some grief and all of that in there. So you've got to deploy different tools, several tools to help that child. I mean, if they worked with me, I would definitely do hypnotherapy and change the scenario completely for that child so that the child will be empowered to know that there was nothing they could do about that situation. Now there's something you can do about where you are now. And then I'll empower that child, and then that incident will stop being a disadvantage to that child. I will teach the child how to find at least one good thing that came out of there. Because yes, we don't like challenges, but every challenge has at least one good thing.
Can hypnosis cause catharsis?
I don't do hypnosis. I do hypnotherapy.
What's the difference?
There's a difference. It's a kind of therapy, and it's with me going back to the root cause of the problem and helping you see it and understand it and change it around.
Are they?
You're awake. Your eyes are closed, but you're very, very present. You know exactly. If I stop talking, you open your eyes and say, I didn't hear you. I do it even online. I don't even need to see you physically. So if the internet cuts off, you would open your eyes. So you're very, very present.
But
in fact, maybe more
different.
present.
But hypnosis is different.
I don't know. I don't do that.
Okay.
I can't talk about something I don't know.
Okay. Now, back to the treatment that she asked about. You said that the issue is therapy.
Yes. There are a couple of other things if you don't want to go and see a therapist.
Exactly. So take us through that.
I think also just being present. You know, there's a tool that I teach people, writing a letter with both your hands, your dominant and non-dominant hand. There's something that it does to your left and right brain, but I'm not even going to go into that. Writing the incident, asking yourself how you feel, what you need, what you want with my dominant hand is my right hand, and then writing the answer with my left hand. So it's almost like myself and my inner child connecting at some point.
Okay.
But then how many people really are that deep enough to want to do such?
Okay.
I tell people also exercise helps, What you eat also helps, because really what you're doing is trying to change your state.
This I think we're going to have part 2.
As usual.
No, this one will have part 2. Because even this trauma discussion is traumatizing me.
May you not be traumatized.
Amen. So, we have learned a number of things today.
Yeah.
The fetus can hear what is happening outside.
Yeah.
So beware how you behave when you're pregnant. Mm-hmm. And beware what you say or what is said around you when you're pregnant.
You heard?
It heard. Because you don't even know whether it's a he or a she yet. But it is listening. Mm. It's in there and it's paying attention. And guess what? It might affect its life eventually. Whoa.
Yep.
That is deep.
Mm-hmm.
Adeola Kingsley James, thank you for coming to shock us into reality.
That wasn't my
this morning. Well, you did. Because I don't know about you, but I'm hearing this for the first time, that fetuses can hear you. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for coming. We need to bring you back to give us some more revelations. Thank you. So Sunrise will be right back in a moment, and we shall be looking at a very, very disturbing trend in our country.
Or something else. This is...
From the Lord, they know they see her for market to you. A good woman is a blessing from above. Her type will not there for market to you. I tell you more, Yaku. One year batrako is a silver. Yellow more, does Yaku. One year batrako does Yaku. Always loving everybody, no discrimination. What I did, man, no competition. Come and see the blessings of the Lord. Everyone, Yamaka, Moses in everyone, Yamaka, only this in a good woman no come from the Lord. Honeymoon,
Of late, Nigeria has witnessed a rise in the number of reported cases of organ harvesting in the country, with the removal of their organs, kidneys, liver, heart, among others. There's this video that Alera saw earlier, and it's caused her skin to cringe.
It was traumatizing. Thank you.
But let's have a quick conversation around that. Perhaps the beginning of several. Dr. Ebubangboye, who is a consultant physician, is a nephrologist at kidney medicine. He's also head of dialysis and transplant at St. Nicholas Hospital. He's also the clinical director of St. Nicholas Hospital. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
We saw that disturbing video, and I'm sure you probably have seen it as well. People selling their organs somewhere in a...
Children, underage children.
And some of them being lured to sell.
For 1 million naira.
How bad is that situation?
It is bad, but I think it's best to backtrack a bit.
Okay.
I mean, why are people selling organs? Why are people buying? People are buying because individuals develop kidney failure. And how rampant is kidney failure? Very, very rampant in our environment. I think it's estimated that for every population of people, 10% of them have kidney failure.
Wow.
So that's how common the problem that we're dealing with is.
Is there any particular reason why it's more rampant now than it was, say, 10, 20 years ago?
Many reasons. Probably the most pertinent of them is that the things that lead on to kidney failure in our environment, which are hypertension, diabetes, and what we call chronic glomerulonephritis.
Chronic?
Glomerulonephritis is a chronic inflammation of the kidney, usually due to infections that are not identified and treated properly. You find that all those things are a lot more common. So hypertension, easily 40% of individuals have hypertension in our environment. Diabetes, rising population of people, close to 10%. Chronic infections like hepatitis B, 11, 12%, hepatitis C, 4, 6%, HIV, 2, 3%. So all these common infections, all these common non-communicable diseases have increased the prevalence of kidney failure in our environment. And unfortunately, once you develop kidney failure, particularly the chronic type of kidney failure, you no longer have, you're no longer able to sustain life. The only way you're able to sustain life is if you have some renal replacement therapy. Your options are either dialysis or a transplant. Dialysis costs an average of about 50,000 per session. You need about 3 sessions per week, and you need it indefinitely. So you find that transplant is probably the best option once you have end-stage renal disease. It's cheaper on the long term. It gives you a better quality of life. Your risk of mortality is less. And generally, it's cheaper. So most people go, for the option of the transplant. And to do a transplant, you need a donor. And that's where the problem of individuals searching for donors comes up.
What are the, should I say, I don't want to use the word laws. What are the rules guiding kidney donation in Nigeria?
Yeah. We now have the Nigerian Health Act, which was signed by the president, I think, in 2014, which specifies that, first of all, there are certain laws. You can't take a kidney from anybody under 18. And generally, we tend not to want to take kidneys from people over 65. And it has to be done willingly and voluntarily.
Okay.
So to guard against a situation where all these problems that you're referring to have come, there's an internationally, promulgated law, which we call the Istanbul Declaration, which was put together in 2008, about 100 people from around the world, and I was fortunate to be one of those 100 people that put that declaration together.
Yeah.
And it's essentially to guard against commercialization of human parts, which essentially is what we're dealing with.
Yes.
So what it actually says is that you must be given the kidney freely and willingly. And that means, ideally, you should be related to whoever it is that's the recipient. And that relationship can be genetic or can be emotional. So usually genetic, it means father, mother, brother, sister. In our environment, cousins are close enough to you. So uncles, nephews, nieces. And when you talk about emotionally related individuals, they're talking about a wife or husband, a long-standing friend, but somebody who has some emotional relationship enough to want to sacrifice one or the other of his organ parts to help save your life.
Now, that video that my partner spoke about earlier, the doctors who took those organs out of those youth, because one of them was said to have been 14 years old, another one was 17. So according to the law which you just told us about, that's not allowed.
By Nigerian law,
yes,
it is against the law.
So
and incidentally, I mean, just over the last couple of weeks, the Federal Ministry of Health, of course, is quite concerned. And following up on that law, they've put together a committee that is actually going to fine-tune aspects of the law to ensure that it actually serves the purpose, which is to serve as a deterrent to things like that happening.
Dr. Bangui.
No, sorry, just to follow up. Has anything happened to those doctors? Because we saw in Relief, the hospital that was involved in this particular act.
Well, I am not informed, but you know, the law in Nigeria acts very, very slowly. One expects that at some point in time, you know,
the law will catch up with them.
The law will catch up with them if it is true that that is exactly what happened.
Two things, sir. Number one, you speak to the responsibility of the Medical Association of Nigeria under the Nigerian Medical Association. But more importantly, organs are not sold for cheap. They're not like tomatoes. They're quite expensive. In fact, I think one of them said it cost between 800 and 1 million naira for these kidneys. Of course, some people will still call that pittance. So it's not just something that some poor person can go get. And according to the Istanbul Declaration, the poor who sell their organs are being exploited, whether by richer people within their own countries or by transplant tourists from abroad. Any way of arresting that?
Arresting who now?
Arresting that trend of exploitation in particular.
Well, that exactly is what I can reliably let you know that the federal ministry is involved in. First of all, what are the penalties for flouting the law as it exists? 100,000 naira, 1 million naira. And that's the first thing, that we feel that those terms are not stringent enough to serve as deterrents. I've been president of both the Transplant Association of Nigeria and the Nigerian Association of Nephrology. And whilst I was president, we actually approached government then, and this is over 8 years ago, to say that, yes, thank you for putting this law together, but these penalties that you've stipulated are not stern enough to serve as deterrent. We think you need to strengthen them. And that's what we're hoping that this new committee that the Federal Ministry of Health has put together would be able to strengthen and maybe make it a lot more, stringent, and make it serve the deterrent, component of the law that it actually should serve. Because what we know is that any individual who serves, there have been countries in the world. I mean, we know about Pakistan a long time ago, Philippines, even India to some extent, where these things were rampant. You have individuals who have sold one kidney and actually come back to come and sell the second kidney.
Wow. So how do they live? Okay, I'm ready to die.
They're so uninformed. They think it's a replaceable part. They've given one. They don't realize that by giving a second one, they themselves are going into kidney failure. Studies were done where they looked at individuals who have donated a kidney. What did you do with the money? Are you a better person?
No.
Would you ever do it again? And several of them in those studies have regretted that decision. But because of the situation in our country now, where there's so much poverty out there, people are ready to do just about anything just to put some money together.
So it goes back to good governance.
Everything always comes back to that.
Okay. Now, the part where this whole conversation began from for us is the ethical way that people can donate whatever. We're talking about blood donation, and people still do it for commercial value. And the part of the conversation we were having informally that day was, look, we can actually have a situation where people donate their organs before they pass, right? We want to tell us about that?
Yeah. There are two types of kidney donations. There's the live kidney transplant, and then there's the diseased donor transplant. If you take statistics from around the world, the diseased transplants are more frequently done than the live donor transplant. Essentially what that means is that whilst you're alive, you indicate your interest that if you die, in which case you don't need any of those parts again. You're freely, willingly donating it for use to anybody who requires it. So you have laws in those countries which you call opt-in, where everybody opts in. When you go for your driving license, you indicate on your driving license that you're a kidney donor or eye donor or heart or lung. And if you die, they keep you alive, or they sustain those organs pending when they can be safely removed, harvested for use by the appropriate person. We haven't gotten there yet. We don't have that disease donor transplant.
Why not?
In Nigeria. Because it takes a lot of sophistication. Because you can't just take a kidney and plug it into somebody. So first of all, the person who you're going to plug it into has to be ready to receive the kidney. Okay. Majority of our patients can't afford to do dialysis appropriately. So they're not even fit as at that time. You need to have known the HLA types, the genetic type of that particular donor. So you already have a list of all the potential recipients. So once that organ becomes available, it's 1, 2, 3. Them. And you're trying to see who is the closest, who is the fittest, who would it best fit. And you then have a team that is ready at that point in time to take out that kidney and plug it into the patient. We haven't reached that level of sophistication. We're working towards it.
What's the potential for us in the nation? Because I ask that not because we are vulnerable or anything, but
we are vulnerable.
Okay.
Because a disease that affects 1 out of every 10 of us. A disease that's predominantly a disease that, as a black man, you're 4 times more likely than any other racial group in the world.
4 times.
Everyone would know somebody who's had kidney failure. So it is that common.
Oh, wow. Bad enough, but I don't think it is. Is it at par with the death rate?
Say that again.
Is it at par? Is that situation of kidney? Or
no, the thing is, if you have end-stage renal disease, unless you receive some form of renal replacement therapy, either dialysis or a transplant, within 2 weeks you will succumb.
Okay. Well,
so Doc, if I'm interested, for instance, in donating my kidney when I pass, how much time do you need to take it out of me and put it in your bank or wherever it is that you put them before you put them in the patient who requires them?
Usually not more than 48 hours. Okay. And that requires some level of sophistication. Sometimes what you do is you keep the person in an intensive care setup. You are certain the person is brain dead, but you continue to sustain the heart pending when you are ready to harvest such a kidney. And even if you then harvest it, you take it out, you place it on ice. But then you must transplant that kidney within 48, in some instances up to 72 hours. But that's the extreme.
Okay.
But usually not more than 1 to 2 days after the organ has been harvested.
Okay, I know you said that we're not there yet, but of course this presupposes that if I have made that commitment to, say, a particular hospital or whatever, I must also indicate that that hospital must be informed as soon as I am terminal, right?
Exactly.
So that they can come and take it out quickly.
In fact, it's not so much of telling the hospital, but telling your next of kin. Because I would tell you that one that is even easier to transplant is the cornea, the eyes. And I know that the Rotary Club, I think, in Nigeria has been quite adamant going around and giving such. And in one instance, they had actually, one individual had said, look, if I die, please, I'm donating my eyes, and had told the next of kin. Now, when armed robbers went into the house and shot the man, unfortunately, so immediately it happened, the wife and the children said, look, our dad had said, I'm donating my cornea. They went to the hospital, and it became a challenge to actually harvest it. In fact, they had to get a judge out on the weekend, late in the evening, to give approval for that to be done. So there are aspects...
Why?
Well, just because they needed some judicial assent. And I suspect that that might have been before the Health Act actually came into being. So I suspect that that probably might have contributed to that. But you find that in our environment, individuals, someone dies, you're not completely sure why the individual died. And you want to do an autopsy. Family refuse. No, we don't want the body, tampered with in any way. You explain to them that it's useful to know why this individual died, because it might have some genetic implication for even you yourself in the future. They always believe if you remove one organ or the other or tamper with the parts, when the person reincarnates, he's going to come less of a person than how he should be.
For those who believe in reincarnation.
Dr. Bangui, let's just say that this is the beginning of several conversations because, well, for obvious reasons, so many things that we want to take up you up on. We can't right now, but the issues are quite many. Please give us your word that we will summon you shortly and you will be available.
Well, it's actually my pleasure and my duty, actually.
Okay.
Because I think this is, one, a topic that's dear to my heart. We have been doing transplants now for 24 years. We've done over 400 transplants. And it's a concern for those of us who are doing it ethically to have us being tainted by those who might not be as...
By kidney traders.
So it's important that the public, one, is aware of what exactly is going on. Let's know what is permissible.
Absolutely.
And let's reassure the public that, it's nothing like what
we're certainly having
what is being done currently.
Thank you so much for being here. Dr. Bambui is a consultant physician, nephrologist, head of the dialysis, transplant, and clinical director at St. Nicholas Hospital. Thank you again for your time.
My pleasure.
Okay. Some of you may have been seeing such things in movies. Well, we've talked about the real life now, okay? So now let's just go talk about the movies. Yes, that's a hint as to who our artist of the week is. Do stay with us.
I know sometimes it be like saying nobody's in you. That's what I care for you, my friend. I did no vex for me. Say I never call you since, but I hope that you are well. I hope you're my cat still. Every day I dey pray for you. Make you Baba, God bless you. I never forget you. I gon' forget you. See my shoulder, make you rest upon me. You know I got you. Now me be your friend indeed. Money don't show now. I don't keep some for you. You know go so far. Cause anything I get now for me and you. Yeah. How are you, my friend? How do you do, my friend? I know sometimes it feel like say nobody's in you. That's what I take for you, yourself, oh, everything go day alright. And if anybody try you, know it's gonna be on sight. See my shoulder, make you rest up on me. You know I got you, let me be your friend indeed. Money don't show now. I don't keep some for you. You know go so far. 'Cause anything I get now for me and you, yeah. How are you, my friend? I see you, my brother. How do you do, my friend? See my sister. But sometimes you feel like say, oh, nobody's in you. That's when I there for you, my friend. Solo. How are you, my friend? How do you do, my friend?
No, that's not him. No, it's not him.
Thank you for staying with us. Well, our guest is certainly not that one who's singing. This one doesn't sing.
Oh, he does, but not commercially.
Okay.
At least
he's
he sings
an
in his
actor,
bathroom.
he's a producer, and he's a director. He's widely credited for elevating the quality of Nollywood movies through larger budgets, shooting on 35mm, releasing in cinemas, and improving cliché Nollywood storylines. Viewers, please welcome Kunle Afolayan. Drum roll.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yes. Good to see you, Kunle.
Good to see you too.
The last time you were here, you had just released Anikulapo.
Yes.
Which turned out to be, as they say, box office. So, why do we have the pleasure of your presence today?
Well, I think it's because, first of all, let me say good morning and thank you for inviting me.
Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year. Yeah, we're still in January. Anikulapo was shot in 2022. And between then and now, a lot has happened. Of course, I'm widely known, you know, as a filmmaker and all, but I'm also an entrepreneur, you know. But everything that we do sort of connect because it's the same ecosystem. We run, I mean, in Cap Hub, we have restaurants, you know, and bar. Then our academy, you know, in the last 1 year has produced, you know, quite a number of quality young, you know, film makers, you know, and all of that. And then we've made a Anikulapo series. So, yeah.
Series?
So, yes, the last time he was here, he told us that he's been held by the jugular by Netflix to expand it from one cinema, just a movie to series. Tell us about, well, first of all, the conversations around it. How did that go?
Well, it was good. Again, I've said this, and I think I mentioned it then. The original idea, the Anikulapo original idea was to make series, not a film. And this started like 6-7 years ago. And then, you know, the working title then was Odu, like Odufa, you know. But I shopped the idea around a little bit and it wasn't flying. And when Netflix came and we had this meeting, they said, look, doing a series in local language and all of that seemed very ambitious. That why not try to make a film? And then if it's good, then we can. And then we made a film. And the film was the most watched non-English film in the world globally. And that opened up conversation, you know, for the, to make the series afterwards.
And was it really a Yoruba movie?
Yeah.
Anikulapo. Yeah, I know. I've seen it.
Yeah, it was pure Yoruba.
Subtitled.
Yeah,
we understand. We understand where you are from.
I'm anything after
let's talk about the basic. I don't want you to let out what's in the series because it actually, you know, ended. The movie ended. with a cliffhanger.
Yes.
So many of us want to see what next. And I've seen the 40-something second thriller.
Okay.
So it's just the guy coming up with the thing again. Well, we'll look for it. It's on Netflix. But let's talk about the business. Anikulapo streamed on Netflix, a streaming platform. Yeah. And there are movies in Nigeria, even abroad. This movie, Lift, by Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart, yeah.
Streamed in cinemas.
Yes.
Now it's on a streaming platform.
Yes.
Now, I also know that there have been movies that have been staged, filmed, and streamed.
Yeah.
Tell us about that ecosystem. Which one is killing which one is catalyzing which one?
Okay, I'll say it's an exciting time, because of the fact that you have options. Before now, in the 80s, it was strictly, 70s, 80s, it was strictly theater. Yeah. If you want to watch Ogunde's film, Adela film, you have to go to National Theatre, Glover Hall, Idera Cinema, or in Ibadan, all over the country. Some TV dramas were on television, but they are completely different from film, And then early, late 80s, video came, and then people will make their film, put on VHS, and sell. DVD came, VCD came, DVD came. But at that time, we still had the option of cinemas and then DVD, DVD. But of course, stage is something that has been there and will continue to be there. But the thing with stage stage does not have a quick turnaround. Stage is more detailed. Stage, even just rehearsal, sometimes would take 6 months. Yeah. Depending on, how ambitious or, how detailed the play, is. So you can have if you want to tour stage, for example, will you be able to lock the same people down for like a year, all year round, or 2 years round?
As the actors.
The actors.
You better have a big sponsor.
Exactly. And if you're talking to anybody in that, then you better have a big sponsor. Yeah. But film is easier in the sense that you can do a film in 3 to 6 months, release it, and start working on the next one. All right? If it's staged, the director will need to go with them, and then for 1 year, maybe you're just locked, to just one particular project. All right? And some of the actors, especially nowadays, they want to be on a set for 5 days, and as soon as they are done here, they move to the next one. In fact, sometimes they shuttle 3 locations now.
At the same time.
That is bad, really, because for me, it's something I would never want to tolerate, but that is the reality now. People jump from before they are even finished, they are running. So they don't pay attention to the details and all of that.
You came from a dynasty of sorts. Yeah. I don't know if that was the title of the film or play, Ajoke.
No, it's the name of a character.
A character.
In Ajaniogun.
Ajaniogun,
yes.
Thank you. And now she's wondering what I'm talking about. I will give you education.
No, but I'm coming to that.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Which you just spoke about.
Okay, go ahead.
No. Yes. Most of your movies are in deep Yoruba. So you are very versed in the Yoruba culture.
Yes.
But you grew up in Lagos.
Lagos is Yoruba.
Yeah, well, you can't get plenty of culture in Lagos. Not the kind that you put in movies.
Yes.
So how did you acquire all that?
Well, I'm from a traveling theater, traveling cinema background. That is one. But 2, really, I think Anikulapo is my only film that is done in only one language, which is Yoruba. All my other films are multilingual. Irapada, Figurine, October 1, The CEO, Phone Swap, all of them are, you know, Yoruba, Hausa, Igbo, you know, Ibibio, different languages. But what I always ensure that we have cultural values. I am always very particular about values. Even if we're, okay, for example, Niger Christmas, which was a Christmas film, which was meant to be like just a happy and all of that, we brought in culture. We try to compare, we try to educate, we try to inform, but at the same time entertain. So I am very particular about, I don't want people to just watch a film, my film, and then a few minutes after you've even forgotten the story. You can't tell your kids, oh, do you know what that is? Oh, this means this and that. Because we're losing all of this essence.
Which brings me, which actually raised that issue of stage,
yes.
You know, theater that I began with the other time. What is the iconic benefit of stage? Many people need to understand. Some people, of course, don't understand stage, don't understand, as you said, traveling theater, which is the origin of film, origin of Netflix and all those things. What is the value of stage that must not die? Because we still have Broadway running.
Absolutely. Well, I think because we have the likes of Bolanle Austin Peters and Joke Silva, you know, and all of those guys, I don't think stage will die, you know, because they have consistently, you know, continue, you know, to recently Auntie Joke did a play in Glover Hall has been revived.
The king must dance naked.
Yeah, exactly. And all year round, you know, Bolanle Austin Peters, you know, stage, you know, different, you know, plays every year. You know, and they have their, I mean, they usually will have full hall capacity, you know. And for me, this shows that this thing will not die. Now, I think in those days, the reason why people will go and see stage is because you want to see the actors in live performances. You know, and after they will come out and then they say hello to the people and they interact. And you can't trade that. It's not the same as you just watch people on a box and you
and then you go follow them on Instagram.
Exactly. Then there was no Instagram, so people will rush to Glover Hall and all you want to sit in front so that, you know, and sometimes, you know, the actors, even in the course of, you know, doing the play, they look at the audience and they ask questions like, should I really follow her or should I, you know, you can't compare that to television or to film, you know. That for me, that connects more with the people. And also, you know, the excitement of, oh, I saw him. I saw Adilov. Oh, Baba Salah. Oh, so this is how they are in real life. And then after they've changed from the costume, then you see them outside and you're like, oh, so your stomach was not that big. Oh, so you didn't have that funny mustache. So they're two different worlds. And that is why in some countries, there are people who are only stage theater actors. And they won't go to film or television. Their life all year round is to do Broadway and move from one city to the other.
Okay, now someone just whispered to me, and it's an information available to you, that we understand that Amazon is, the filming, their streaming business is leaving Nigeria. And then there are a number of people who have also expressed one concern or the other about streaming platforms versus, you know, generally talk to us about the business of it. What are the inhibitions? What are the things people need to understand when they just click and play?
Well, I'm not really, you know, these days you read things on social media and you're not sure whether it's true or not, especially when you don't have details and it's not coming from, I didn't see it on Amazon platform. I only saw the news, you know, on blogs, and really, I won't really bother. Now, if you say a platform is leaving Nigeria, it does not mean the platform is closing down. It does not mean that all the Nigerian films that are already on the platforms are going to be removed.
So there's nothing to worry about?
I don't think there's anything to worry about. Maybe they're not going to put as much money, you know, I mean, because when like all these streaming platforms, there are different categories, you know, of commissioning. You have acquisition, you have licensing. You know, licensing, they just say, oh, you've made the film, bring it, we'll take it for 2 years, we'll pay you this. And then you have commissioning, where they say, oh, go and make this film for us.
Okay.
This is the money and all. And commissioning have different categories as well, you know, original, non-exclusive, all of those things. But for me, I think it's a big plus that we have the streaming platforms. As a matter of fact, it shouldn't be one. We should have, like, all of them should come, so that it gives, you know, the creatives, you know, the chance to bargain, you know, and ask,
get the better value.
Get the better value.
Yes, okay. Yes.
And that is what is happening right now. You have Netflix, you have Amazon, you know, and all of that. And people can choose to say, look, I'd rather go with Amazon because they pay more, or I'd rather go with Netflix because, you know, they have wider coverage. You know, you have to think and choose
Look
yourself.
at the business of it.
Okay. The son of Adelove, who had been traveling with his father, acting, now decides to go and read economics. What was the reason for that? Why didn't you just go and learn how to act or how to direct or whatever?
Well, I mean, I actually read business administration, but this was because growing up, my father completely discouraged us from even coming near, you know, because he would say to you, you won't make money.
Oh.
No, because at that time, they were not doing it for money.
Yes.
Because in a theater group, you can have like 100, 150 people, and they all, when they travel or they have, you know, performances, and these are experienced because they'll carry us along. As soon as we're done performing or they are done performing and people leave the hall, we will bring out our mats and spread it on the stage. And that is where we would normally sleep. There was no luxury of, oh, go and book hotel and all of that.
That was your hotel?
That was the hotel. And in the morning before the you know, audience starts coming, you guys get up and then you start setting up, you know, and also, of course, he didn't want that for his children. He felt, look, go and study, you know, be a doctor or be something else.
It seemed demeaning to him.
Exactly.
I think I got paid, I think it was 20 naira, if I'm not mistaken, for acting the lead on Rashid Badamosi's play, Echoes from the Lagoon, and I was the lead.
So,
so if you wanted money, that was not the place to be at all.
But it's different now. It's better now. People now make film and earn in dollars. Funke Akindele recorded 1 billion naira in box office.
That's right.
Stage won't give you that. Stage won't give you that.
It might, depending. I think the reason why we have not recorded such is because we don't even have theaters.
Glover Hall is pretty small.
Yeah, we have Glover Hall, we have Terra Culture. Ambode built some theaters before he left. They were not functional. I don't know what they're being used for now. But if we have theaters.
What is happening with the National Theatre? It's been renovated, right?
It's been renovated, but I'm not sure what the plan is. But that is one asset. That is one place that I feel if it is used to capacity, it will serve the purpose. Yeah. Because they have like 6, 7 halls. Yeah. I grew up in National Theatre. I know all of the halls, or one exhibition, or banquet, or main hall upstairs, all the angles, all the areas in National Theatre. I know everything. You know, but we need to, I don't think creating content is the problem now. And that is why a lot of people would rather go to streaming platforms because, look, it's easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's something very valuable that you talked about, culture. So let's wind down with that. The value of culture.
Yes.
Please tell the Nigerian watching you now what the value of culture is, because most times in music, in movies, and even online in our interactions, those things seem lost.
Yeah. For me, culture is everything. Culture is the language. Culture is the behavior. Culture is the man.
The food.
The food. The clothing.
The clothing.
Everything. And if you meet an Indian man, and then even if he's gone to Harvard and all of that, and then he opens his mouth to talk, you will hear the Kong Indian accent. If you meet Korean, Chinese, and they are never ashamed of this. That is who they are. A typical Nigerian...
Unless they're Rishi Sunak.
Yeah, exactly. But a typical Nigerian, first of all, want to say...
Wanagana.
Exactly. Or you want to say, on a lighter note, I was talking to Diola, who just left, who is a friend of mine, and I was talking to her daughter, and I said to her daughter, you're a Nigerian, you have to speak Yoruba. She said, no, I'm not just a Nigerian, I'm British. And I said, oh, I know you're British, but you're also a Nigerian. She said, oh, but I'm more British. And I said to the mom, I said, look, these are the things we need to start changing. She shouldn't be thinking like that. She shouldn't be thinking being a British is superior or is better. My children, I said to them that, look, if tomorrow you guys decide to do whatever or turn out how you want, I have tried. Because, and the whole world knows that I have tried. When I have conversation with my children now, we chat in Yoruba. When they wake up, wherever they are, the first thing they say to me is, Ekaro Babami. All right, and then we take it from there.
Okay.
It's
the job of the parents.
It is the job of parents.
Okay.
That's a good place to leave it. Kunle Afolayan, actor, director, producer, filmmaker,
culture ambassador.
Thank you very much for coming and closing our program for today.
Yeah.
So that's Sunrise for today. We thank you very much for spending your, God knows how long you spent with us. If you started with us at 9 o'clock, thank you for staying with us to the close of Sunrise today. We'll bring you a fresh edition next week, he being our strength. I'm Alero Edu. See you next month.
Well, expect some changes here. Amaya Makinde, enjoy.
Call to action on disability inclusion. Did you know that the discrimination against persons with disability